Hey, I want to thank our sponsor, Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. Look, their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone, and they achieve this by supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients, and building a community of home chefs. Blue Apron has established partnerships at over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the U.S. And as a result, their seafood is sourced sustainably under standards developed in partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch. Beef, chicken, and pork come from responsibly raised animals. Produce is sourced from farms that practice regenerative farming. Because Blue Apron ships the exact amount of each ingredient required for a recipe, they are reducing food waste. Look, cooking together builds strong family bonds. Research shows that Blue Apron families cook nearly 3 times more often. Those who spend a lot at restaurants at high-end grocery chains can now spend under $10 per person for a delicious meal. Their upcoming meals are seared chicken and creamy pasta salad with summer squash and sweet peppers, creamy shrimp rolls with quick pickles and sweet potato wedges, fresh basil fettuccine pasta with sweet corn, and Cubanelle pepper, as well as chili butter steaks with Parmesan potatoes and spinach. I'm telling you guys, me and my girl, we have Blue Apron night, and it is the best night of the week. She's impressed by my cooking. I'm impressed with her cooking. It's a great date night. It's affordable for less than $10 per person per meal. Blue Apron delivers seasonable recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. They got variety. You could choose from a variety of new recipes each week, or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. I love surprises, and they're flexible. I'm telling you, customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. And it's easy. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe, and pre-portioned ingredients can be prepared in 40 minutes or less, and it's guaranteed. They guarantee freshness, and I'm telling you, every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. So check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/MMA roast. You'll love how good it feels, how good it tastes, and be able to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Don't wait. That's blueapron.com/MMA roast. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new MMA Roasted podcast. It's me, Adam Hunter. I'm here with the fight professor, Steve Quadros. It is an honor to have you. My cat is right in front of the camera. How are you, man? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm just dodging the weather. You know, it's a little cooler today with a slight chance of who knows what.
Yeah.
You know.
Which is good.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in California for?
My whole life. Other than the times I traveled to Japan or Europe or Beijing or the Middle East, you know. Yeah, Northern California, Santa Cruz born, and Salinas graduated barely. And I was actually hungover for my graduation. I was just talking about that the other day to a friend of mine, and I tried to drink a 5th of Jack Daniels the night before. I was young and experimenting.
Right.
You know.
Did you ever think when you were like calling those pride fights and working that MMA would be what it is now?
I wish I could. Yeah. But no. Who knew? I mean, we were just having a good time, rolling with the punches and the soccer kicks at the time, and Boss and I kind of knew that we were at the top of something, but we didn't quite know what. As a matter of fact, before every show, like let's say at the Tokyo Dome, we'd go all the way up into the top seat about 3 hours before the show when the place would be empty, and we'd just sit there and kind of like meditate and think, look at this, man. Look where we're at. Look at this thing.
It's crazy. Like, all the fighters I talked to that fought in Pride still say that the Japanese fans were so much better than the American fans. They just said that they were like, it was a whole different experience. Like they wouldn't boo. You know, if they didn't like someone, maybe they'd be silent, but they were just much more proper. But when they liked someone, they would just get behind them like no other.
It was very much like, have you ever seen the movie The Stepford Wives?
No, I have not seen that movie.
It's actually about robot people that do everything completely correctly, and they don't ever curse. They don't ever. Anyway, it was a thing where I remember one time Rico Rodriguez was fighting Gary Goodridge, and it was really quiet, and they were clinched up and everything. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, and it surprised me because Rico was a jiu-jitsu guy all the way back then. He threw a back kick, and I went, "Oh my God!" I started going crazy, and going nuts. And he and Gary turned and looked at me, and then. Later on, when I interviewed him, I said, "What were you thinking?" I was waiting for you to give me instructions, Stephen.
Yeah.
Because it was so quiet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, they can actually hear you guys. It's crazy. Like, by the way, Gary Goodridge recently on Twitter said that he goes, I'm not a homosexual. Stop sending me dick pics to guys. And which, first of all, who's sending Gary Good? Like, out of all the people that like
totally
gay
random,
guys or anybody is sending dick pics to, like, why Gary Goodrich? It's crazy. Like that, but then of course when you say I'm not homosexual, it makes you seem like, I don't know, homophobic or whatever. And then people are now going to send him dick pics.
Have you ever seen that comedy skit from Funny or Die called No Homo?
Yes.
Where the guys are sitting around watching an MMA fight, and the guy, you get on, ground his ass, pound his ass, and the guy's sitting there going, dude, just because you say no homo at the end, the stuff you're saying is totally gay.
Right.
I find that there's a lot of homophobia, let's say, in the fight game, and I'll share a story. One time when I was commentating with Pride, and I came home, and there was a girl I was dating, and she said, I want to see what you do. So we went back to my place, and I put on a fight. It was like Vandalay fighting some guy, and here they had really tight Valley Tudo shorts on, and then they went to the ground and they're rolling around. She starts laughing. I turn to her, look at her, I go, what? She goes, So we watched it some more, and she started laughing. I go, what? She goes, this is so gay.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, if somebody didn't understand what was going on. But my thing is, let's say a lot of the people that say, I don't like MMA because I like gay porn. And me personally haven't seen a gay porn. I'm going to defer to their expertise on the subject.
Yeah.
And I tell people that have that opinion, if you feel that you're going to get an erection by grappling with another guy, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
Right. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't. There was that's funny. Actually, I was dreaming the other night. I had a dream the other night, and I was coaching wrestling in my dream. And I was like, I'm like, come on, Carlos, push harder, Carlos. And my wife was like, woke me up. So, who's Carlos? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm coaching. And then I realized where I was. But it was just funny. Like, she thought I was having gay sex with a guy named Carlos. 'Cause I was saying, push, keep going, Carlos. But that is a true story. That 100% happened. I just got back from Naples, Florida. You ever in Naples?
No, I've been close to Naples, Italy, but not Naples.
Yeah, no,
Florida.
Naples, Florida.
Yeah.
Beautiful Naples. So nice. I met some guy. There was a guy after my show. I was selling T-shirts after my show, and a guy came up to me with a service dog, a beautiful golden retriever, and was like, I named the dog after you, Hunter. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. No, that's funny. Your dog's name is Hunter. You didn't name it after me. He goes, no. You performed for my troops in the Middle East about 5 years ago, and you made us all laugh. And it was the best. So I named the dog after you. So I was like, man, like that, I've never been more flattered and humbled, and like that really put me in a great mood. I never had a dog named after me.
That's not. Yeah, no, I've never had a dog named after me. Who knows? I mean, I've got nicknames thrown at me, bad ones, not the fight professor, but other ones. When you're growing up, in teen years.
Yeah.
Hunter, who knows? Did they call you anything like?
Well, my real name is Adam Greenberg. I actually took the name Adam Hunter as a stage name because as a kid I used to work with who had cancer, and I volunteered. It's a whole story, but it's not even my name. But my nickname in high school was Greenie. Like, because Greenie was like, that was my name. Like, when I wrestled, everyone was like, Greenie. That was the...
Yeah, so. I got Q-Man, I got Quadros, which I thought was kind of handy, I guess.
Quadros. That's not bad.
Quaalude.
Yeah, right. Yeah, kind of handy. Yeah, if you're Bill Cosby, sure, why not? I'm sure his nickname was Quaalude as well.
Yeah.
But so that was cool. The shows in Naples were great. And then actually there was when I first got there, it was crazy. I got off the plane, and there was like all these high school girls on the plane with me. Like, they're the high school, I don't know, maybe some kind of soccer team or volleyball team, young girls. And I get off the plane, and this woman starts yelling at this man, to a cop, that guy was touching my girls on the plane. His hands were all over them. And the cop was like, I don't know what, the cop didn't know what to do. The guy then starts, like, the guy was like a maybe 50, 60-year-old guy that starts like making a beeline out of there. But that was insane. The cop didn't arrest him, but it was, I mean, she was screaming. So that was like, after like 9 hours of traveling, I get that. And then I go to rent a car. And I go to rent a car, and the place that I was going to rent it at was like off, and that was closed. So I go to Hertz. I like go online, and I reserve the car, and because you always get it. It's always cheaper online.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so then I go there, and the guy, it was like $250 for the week or something, and the guy's like, next time, ask after I pay for it. He goes, next time, ask me because I could have got you a better deal. And I'm like, why are you telling me this after? Like,
yeah, why don't you avoid the deal and redo it?
That's what I said. I go, well, can you please avoid? He goes, I can't do that now. I go, well, what if I don't want the car? He goes, well, I can't.
So I'm like,
Do you think he lifted weights? In his part time.
I don't know what he did, but I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. I just
stand up, Rooster. Yeah, I'm a man. Yeah, okay, Sergeant.
like what? Like, why tell me now?
Yeah, exactly. What the?
That's like that's crazy. It's like after sex, a girl's like, "Oh, by the way, I would have given you the best blowjob ever, but or just something like, no, what do you mean? Like after you nut, it's just she lays there,
Yeah.
whatever it is. It was horrible. So that was that. The shows themselves, they were fun. They were a lot of fun, but it was just, it's always like it's just funny, like the whole night, the whole week, I'm feeling like I'm like the greatest comic ever. People were telling me, like, people were giving me money. Like, someone gave me like a $50 tip. People telling me I haven't laughed like that in 30 years. I was crying. Thank you. Just like, and then there's always one person. There's always that one, and this one like wrote me a letter after my show. So after the Sunday show, I get back to the hotel. I'm getting ready to go back. I'm like, you know what? This is I just had a great week, and this and this. This woman, it said not a fan. That was the title of the email.
Oh, shit.
Not a fan. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, right? So then she writes me like this whole thing about, by the way, and this was a woman that was like sitting in the front row, and her English was not her first language. And then she was just kind of judging and like shaking her head the whole time. She goes, I don't think you might care about what I have to say, but I'll say it anyways. You should clean up your comedy from time to time. Some people don't really care if your sexual life is a joke. There's a lot of jokes out there, and life itself has many humorous things that happen constantly. If you don't have the gift to see that, you should do something else, or at least present yourself to the people who enjoy listening to your poor performance. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. I like comedy, not porn. So that's what she fucking writes. First of all, if you think my comedy's porn, you're watching the wrong porn. Because I watch some pretty good porn, and when I want to jerk off, I'm not putting on my comedy set. So like let's be. And second of all, like, you sat through the whole show, and then afterwards you complain. It's like, so that was like that. But it's like. With me, it still got to me. Even though it shouldn't have got to me, it did. There's always that one. It's like you make 100 people laugh, but then that one person, but then someone else said, like, Colin Quinn's like, if you're making everyone laugh all the time, you're doing something wrong. Rich Voss is always like, there's always people that are not going to like what you do. And, but it was just funny because I was like, I thought I had the greatest week. People on Twitter and then I haven't laughed like that in years. This and that. Thank you. I got a fucking dog named after me. And then of course, not a fan. I'm just like, ugh.
And that dumped your whole week, right? It put you totally behind the eight ball and on your heels, and you had to deal with it because, Adam, you're a sensitive guy. You're an artist.
Yeah, I know. It was just, I did a little bit. I mean, then it got to me, and I forwarded it to like a couple people, and they kind of like, but then it was weird because I was working with a girl named Sheba Mason, whose father is Jackie Mason. Sheba's the daughter, okay. And Jackie Mason's the father.
Jackie
Mason. But he was a terrible father to her. He never even I guess that he like never claimed. They had a paternity test. Which the mother won. It was 99.9. It was one of those things where like, and then it was one of those things where finally like, so the mother wrote a musical about having a daughter with Jackie Mason, and then not having him claim her, and then he tried to get the musical taken off, and it was this whole thing. But anyway, Sheba Mason's mom said that she used to travel with Jackie all the time, and there was always one person that told him what he was doing wrong, but always. So every comic gets it. And then I was reading this thing, Ricky Gervais, another person who like I look up to. So anyway,
Ricky Gervais he's the guy. He's the cutting edge. He's like the guy that's really pushed it to the edge.
Oh yeah,
but he doesn't go over that edge, in my opinion.
And sometimes you do go over the edge, and that's just like what happens. So who's a guy, by the way, back to you and like your Pride days, who's a guy that you looked at who you thought was going to be the world champ forever and then didn't, like a Sokaju? Was there like did you call Bob Sapp's fights?
Yes, I called Bob Sapp's fights when he first came, and I tell you what, when Bob Sapp first came to Pride and he was training with Matt Hume, he was training with Josh Barnett, Maurice Smith, and he was training, he was in the gym all the time. He wasn't doing all the commercials and everything that he was doing later with K1. He was a serious force. And after Nogueira fought him, I asked on Rodrigo, I said, Rodrigo, look, Bob Sapp, I mean, almost did the pile drive. We thought we were going to have our first death. We were really afraid of that match. He said, what do you think is going to happen with Bob Sapp? And, oh, no, he will definitely be the king. He will definitely be the one that nobody can beat. But what happened was K1 grabbed Bob Sapp, realized they had a huge hit. He became this, freak show thing where he's this big guy, beat Hoost a couple times, who was the K1 3-time champion. And they took him out of the gym and made him do, I think it was 100 commercials in 1 year.
Oh,
so
wow.
guess what? You're not going to be training. You're not going to learn how to turn your punches over, how to block takedowns and things like this. So Bob started to get beat. But at that time, Bob Sapp, honestly, and people might laugh, because now he's kind of a laughing stock in the game because he doesn't like getting hit and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, nobody in their right mind really likes to get hit. I mean, do you like getting hit?
No, of course not.
Hey, I like to get hit. Really?
Yeah.
No, then you're not very smart. But Bob Sapp, I think, was one of them. Another one that was a great fighter and a legend in Brazil, but when he came to Pride, lost 2 fights, was Jose Pele Landi, who was an absolute crusher in Brazil. He won like at least 4 tournaments with Vale-Tudo rules, with headbutts and everything, and he fought like 3 guys in one night and all this kind of stuff. No gloves allowed, 30-minute rounds, the whole thing. And then when he came to Pride, he lost to Matsui and he lost to Carlos Newton. And then, it didn't work out from there. So that kind of surprised me too, because I really thought he was going to be following the footsteps of Igor Vovchanchin and Fedor Emelianenko.
But like, did you call the Sakuraba fights when he beat the Gracies?
Oh, yeah. I mean, those were nuts because at the time, I mean, come on, the Gracies, Royce had beaten all these guys, had won 3 tournaments. Hickson was this cloud that was showering over everybody, and he came to the first Pride, and he beat Takada, who's a pro wrestler. But at first, Hickson didn't want to take that fight because he said, if I take this fight and I beat you, you do fixed fights, people are going to see it was fixed. But then they finally got him in to sign on the dotted line. I'm sure he got paid or whatever, and he won. But when Sakuraba beat Hoyler, that was like the bait to try and get one of the other guys. And then came Royce, then came Henzo, and then came Hyan. And it was like a thing where Sakuraba was just going through everybody. It was a right style matchup because Sakuraba was kind of like the anti-jiu-jitsu because he was a catch wrestler. But the thing was, everybody thought, he's a pro wrestler. He's a shitty fighter. He can't fight. But no, you're wrong because Sakuraba became a legend. The irony was, and now Sakuraba gets inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, only has 1-1 record though. So to me, that's a little strange.
What, in the UFC, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, which is why this Hall of Fame thing is like also if like the UFC
political.
Doesn't like you.
It's very political.
Like Tito Ortiz should be in the UFC Hall of Fame.
I think
Is he?
I think he is, but Frank Shamrock isn't. And Frank Shamrock was undefeated, and he stopped every guy he fought. He either knocked him out or submitted every single fighter he fought, and he was dominant. He never fought a non-title fight. His first fight in the UFC was a title fight against Kevin Jackson, won by armbar in like 20 seconds or 30 seconds or something, and then he crushed everybody he fought. Yet he's not in the Hall of Fame. So I'm thinking, what's the criteria for the UFC Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
I mean, Sakuraba surely deserves to be in an MMA Hall of Fame. There's no question about it. Maybe in the top 2 or 3 guys, but to put him in the UFC Hall of Fame, it sends kind of
then I think Randleman should be in it. If that right, Kevin?
Yeah, because Kevin was UFC champion.
Right.
I mean, he legitimately was. He won the heavyweight title eventually. I mean, he lost it.
Did you call the fight when he knocked out Crow Cop?
No, that was after.
Okay.
That was after I left.
But
that was a big shock because at that time, Crow Cop was killing everybody. People thought, because stand-up fighting hadn't really progressed yet in MMA to the level where K1 fighters or real championship boxers who learn how to defend takedowns were coming in yet. That wasn't happening. But Crow Cop was the closest thing that we had. And that left kick, oh my God. When he kicked Heath Herring in the ribs, Boss and I looked at each other and we just about started crying for Heath.
He's had a crazy career, Heath Herring, because you look at some of the guys he beat, and Sean McCorkle and Matt Mitrione still tell me the guy they train with out in Indiana, I forgot the guy's name. Oh, I know the guy's name. Heath Herring beat him by knee, but they tell me this dude just had he still beats up Sean McCorkle and Matt Mitrione. Who am I thinking of? This dude, man, I'm gonna find his name right now.
White, black, Latino.
White guy, big, good wrestler, great wrestler. I think they call him like the Moose or something, or I'm gonna find his name right now. But Herring has a victory over him.
Heath was a really tough guy because he was training with Core Hemmers, who was Ramon Decker's trainer and Boss Rutan's trainer and Gokhan Saki's trainer and people like that. So his stand-up and his striking got really good. And he gave Nogueira a couple really hard fights in Pride, too, when Nogueira was the #1 fighter.
Tom Erickson.
Oh, my God. I remember that fight.
They always talk about how
my
good Tom
God,
Erickson
that was
is.
a shocker.
Sean McCorkle, and they say that Erickson still beats him up in the gym.
Yeah.
They say that this guy, he could have been the best.
Erickson could have been the king of all because he's freaking huge. He's like, I mean, he's like 280, and I don't think he can make 265, actually. He's a giant guy. And when he came into Pride, I thought, oh, man. But then when Heath beat him, and it was in a Pride show I commentated on with Boss.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, it was such a shocker because I think he ducked into a knee or something. But whatever the reason was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's no do-over sometimes. You just keep going. And Heath just kept going and became a huge star. He was probably the most famous and well-liked among the female fans in Japan.
Who, Erickson?
No.
Oh, Heath.
Heath
Yeah.
Herring was, definitely, because they did a poll, and he was number one. Of the non-Japanese, he was the number one fighter that women liked.
Well, Mark Kerr was saying back in his prime, he had Mark Kerr on the podcast, he would go to Japan, and it would be like 400 women, and he would just get surrounded by everybody. And
It was like, they were like rock stars. It wasn't like, you know, when you go around fight shows now, it's mainly a guy thing.
Yeah.
But in Japan, there's a lot of women that show
Yeah.
up. And so it was crazy because the lobby at the Hilton Tokyo, which they stopped having them because of the untimely death of Morishita, people would wait in line. And sometimes they wouldn't wait with anything to sign. They just wait because they want to meet and maybe give the phone number. Or who knows what was going to happen.
yeah. No, it is funny though. It's also funny. Like my girl, my wife, always talks about like I'm friends with Nate Diaz. So I see Nate, and she can't believe like the adulation that the Diaz brothers get from.
I commentated on Nate's first fight ever, and it was in WEC, and he fought Hermes Franca.
Wow.
At the time, Hermes was a killer, and we're thinking, wait, this is your first pro fight? You're crazy. But he gave a good fight. He lost. I think he got submitted somehow. But it was still, then he became who he is now. He's one of the greatest, fighters on the planet.
Yeah, no, but also she couldn't believe how guys turned into like such fanboys around the Diaz brothers. I think because the Diaz brothers are just so real.
They're rebels.
They don't care about anything. They care about what they care about, but they don't give into, society and this one and that one. And it's almost like they like what they like. Mm-hmm. And I remember Lazy the Savage telling a story how Nick was saying, hey, man, you got to get me this. Hey, can you get me a sponsor? I need some money. So he set him up with this sponsor, and it's like all these business guys and Nick Diaz, and it was some sort of like one of those like the Baz Rutten, like you punch those 5 things, like a Baz Rutten punch out, like with this like a dummy, and there's like 5 ways, and they do it, and they give this whole presentation. And Nick was like, man, that is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. He goes, I would never fucking do that. People would only buy it because they hate me so much. He goes, you know what? Call Jake Shields. He'll like some dumb shit like this. And then it was just silent. And he said it was the most awkward meeting he's ever had. But I was laughing my ass off.
Nick Diaz did something during a press conference. It was a call-in. It was one of those the media call-in things where they would be asking him questions. I forget who he was going to fight. And he'd have these long pauses and he wouldn't say anything. Well, what he was doing was practicing nunchucks in the mirror, and he wasn't even listening to the guy. So after he beats, I forget who it was. It wasn't Cyborg. It was somebody else. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. So I said, hey, that's pretty good. It's kind of like a nunchuck move. And he looked at me and he knew exactly what I was talking about. But he didn't go there.
Yeah.
But it was during one of the call-ins. They kept, Nick, are you there? What do you think about Nick? Yeah, I'm here. What?
Oh my God! Yeah, no, Nick Diaz, he's one of a kind.
He's totally awesome, man.
So, also this weekend, I you know what, I'm trying to get more social media savvy. So we're posting this online, and people are always complaining. No matter what I do, I'm not like I'm sorry, I'm not an 18-year-old kid who knows all this shit. I'm 39 and I'm fucking trying to make a living. But anyway, I'm doing my best. We actually lost funding for. They were gonna take the podcast to a 4-camera shoot, and this guy gave me this whole pitch, and they were gonna pay me some big money, and then he calls me up, he's like, I lost funding. It was just like, fuck. But you know what? Like this guy Sandy Marks had a great joke. He's like, Hollywood, my life, it's like a series of failures interrupted by meals. He goes, it's like fail, turkey sandwich, fail. And I thought that was one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard in my entire life.
I just about losing the funding and losing the cameras. Hang in there.
Oh yeah. Another thing. So yesterday, 6 o'clock in the morning flight, layover in Houston. I finally get in. I got to, an Uber. They don't make it easy at the airport. If you got Uber, you got to go upstairs, like fucking through like a maze. You have to. It's like Indiana Jones last fucking when he's trying to buy the skull. You finally get your Uber. And the guy wants, first he goes, I'm just tired. I haven't slept at all. Like literally, I didn't sleep at all because I didn't want to miss the flight. And he goes, hey, I'm on the phone. I get off the phone. He goes, hey, you're a comic? I go, yeah. He goes, can I tell you a joke? So I said no. I said no. I don't. And then he's like, oh, well, one time I drove Don Rickles to the Tonight Show, and he let me tell him, all right, tell me the joke, right? He tells me this long religious joke that like it was the worst joke I've ever heard in my life. It was terrible. But I had to laugh. I was like, oh, that's funny. And then he goes, yeah, man, you could do that in your act. And it was one of those jokes of like a guy has 4 years to live, and he go, one of those like not even a joke he wrote, So then. He goes, how's the comedy career going? And I go, it's going all right. I was on the Tonight Show a couple times, and Last Comic Standing, I traveled the world doing it. And he goes, hang in there. I'm like, hang in there. And then he goes, you know what? He goes, he goes, you're a nice guy. I'm gonna give you a 5-star rating, so they can rate you. Like, I didn't know that Uber people can rate you now.
Wow.
So I'm like,
no pressure, right?
You're giving me a rating?
Yeah.
Like, really? Is that how this works now? Like,
hi, I'm Steven. I'm your customer.
Yeah.
What's your name? You're my server? I'm sorry.
Like, I thought Yelp, you're supposed to review the business. Now the business reviews you.
Equal rights, man.
God. So then that was that. But
now they shoot back.
So then I like wrote that joke on Facebook, which people got, and some people were like, well, the guy's got a point, you're not Kevin Hart. I'm like, leave me the fuck alone. Like, you just can't win. So then I go to the Dime Bar last night to do a show, which I run, and it was empty. So then like at the end, these 4 girls came in, it was like 5 girls, smoking hot. I'm like, okay, I'm on last because I let all the comics go on before me because I'm just like, whatever, you could all bump me, I don't care, I'll go last, I'll do a longer time. And of course, I'm like, oh, where are you guys from? They're from Norway. Like, English is not their first language, right? So now I'm trying to make people laugh, like, and that's how comedy is. I go from like averaging 200 people a night in Naples to like standing ovations to like, oh, you're doing great, to like me at a fucking dive bar.
And nobody gives a fuck.
People don't speak English. They just want to hear hip hop. They came for the bar afterwards. They didn't even come for the show. The comics were laughing because I was like explaining, I would tell the joke and then explain to them why the joke was funny, to which they would then translate it to their friend. And then none of the references, I'd be like Adderall. They were like, oh, you mean like Ritalin? Yeah, like I have to explain. Yeah, it was one of those. The comics were laughing, which was cool, but it was just like, So yeah, so that was that. But it was still fun. I mean, it's all good.
Okay, back to the Norway girls.
Yeah, no, I'm married. They were smoking hot.
So for me, this.
Oh yeah, no, you should come. I mean, dude, they're so funny. Hollywood. I did a show at the Dime Bar.
Did they like you?
They liked me. Yeah, they liked me. But they liked me because I was like putting an effort. See, I'm one of the comics. There are a lot of comics out there. They see 3 people, 5 people, they give a half-ass show, or they take out their notes or whatever. Oh, hey, I'm just gonna try out new shit, which I can't stand. It's this whole generation of people that either don't try, don't want to try. It's like when you told me like that you were in an acting class taking Meisner classes, and like you've been in, I don't know, 100 movies, TV shows, but you're still taking Meisner acting lessons. But now it's just how many Instagram followers do you have? How many this? How many that? What's your social media? It's like there's so many people who don't give a fuck about the craft of anything. And I'm not just saying on my high horse, but it's the truth. I mean, there are comics now, and at comedy clubs, people, you want to book a comedy club, people go, well, can you fill seats? So they're booking, Chico Bling, or who's big on Vine, or they're book, like literally. I looked at a comedy club in Canada, and the Honky Tonk Man was performing. It's just it's not. I don't know if he's good or not. I'm not bashing the Honky Tonk Man. He's probably puts on a good show. I'll probably enjoy it.
Usually I just co-star in a movie and the honky's performing.
but yeah, but it's just there's a whole generation of people who don't give a fuck about the craft. It's all result oriented. It's Kardashian. It's posing. It's everybody's looking like they're fucking destroying it, and it's telling people what they're doing versus doing it and showing. And in some ways, you as a comic, you have to do that, because sometimes I put as a comic, hey, I'm headlining the Improv, and then the Laugh Factory goes, oh, he must be pretty good. People want to do the Laugh Factory or the Ha. So you're just kind of
it's business.
It's sort of fishing, but at the same time, there's a lot of people out there who don't give a fuck. So they see a crowd of 2, and they give a fucking half-ass performance, and I'm always like, no. Like, first of all, you don't know who those 2 people are. Number 2, they came to see you. They're the ones here. Like, why are you not going to give them the show? It's like the people. Those are the ones. It's like the girl that wants to fuck you, fuck her good. Like, not don't. Oh well, she's a fucking 4, so I'm gonna give her a fucking half-ass bang. No, you guys, people come and support. You give them the show that they deserve, and that's how I believe. So I gave them a show, so they appreciated the fact that they saw a show.
Yeah. Plus, they were 5 hot chicks from Norway, and you're married and all that.
Yeah.
But the Meisner thing, that was a great experiment because I've trained under Strasberg and Stella Adler and Meisner. But the thing is, I see a lot of people, like you're saying, on social media. They know how to get a job and how to get a little bit of fame and fortune, but once they get on the set,
they can't keep it.
Exactly. They have a problem because now all of a sudden you got to bring the goods. And I remember watching an interview with Sally Field on Inside the Actor Studio with James Lipton. And she said when she first got into the business, she got cast because she was this young, cute, thing. And she was in this movie. And all of a sudden they had this big camera shot and all these dolly shots and all these extras and everything right on her. She had to cry and she failed miserably. That's when she actually started going to acting class. And she also said that she got nervous even to this day, still to the point where she said, "Oh yeah, I get so totally nervous." And James Lipton said, "You mean at the beginning?" And she said, "No, now after winning 2 Academy Awards." So that gave me a lot of confidence because all of us get nervous. Now this brings to mind, Adam, I'm interviewing you now.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous before you go on?
I get nervous when there's if it's a show where there's a lot of money involved in it. Like, for example, I'm doing a show this Friday in Arizona and Tucson, and there's a guy there who books a lot of work. So, that's when I get nervous of, if I don't do well, I'm going to lose a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Or if the owner of the club's in the room, I want him to see me doing well. That's when I get nervous. I don't get nervous, because I've just been there 4,000 more than that, but I get nervous when, I used to do colleges, and that's why I'm not good at auditioning. Auditioning, I get more nervous in front of 2 people at an audition than I would be in front of 2 million people. Because number one, they're not my lines. I didn't write them. I can't charm my way out of it, or I can't.
And you're not playing yourself.
I'm not playing myself. That's when I get nervous. We're nervous auditions, and also I know that if I book this job, I'll get the part, and then I'll get money, and then I'll get that. And so when I start factoring in all the other things that might happen is when I get nervous. And then I start sweating and this and that. But I don't get nervous. One of my best sets ever was on Last Comic Standing when I knew that I was already going to be kicked off. Because I knew that there was 3 people left. One of them had to get kicked off. They had me left. I knew. So at that point, the pressure was gone. And it was I killed it, and everyone's like, "Why did he get kicked off?" Blah blah blah. But I didn't have any pressure. That's when I'm like, but you're right. What Hollywood has become now, what everything has become, is Sage Northcutt versus Brian Barberena, where Northcutt gets that nod because he's good looking, he's charismatic, he's bankable, he's got a 12-pack, he's young, but Brian Barberena had to get there because he had to fight all these fucking monsters to get there. Mm-hmm. And who wins? Brian Barberena wins second round, taps him out. That's kind of what I go through as a comic is yes, a lot of times the show business, the comedy business, they put up these people that have 20 minutes, that have 15 minutes, and they go, "Oh, he's our next star. He's our next star. He's our next." Let's say before it was Dane Cook, or he's our next this, or he's our next that. But they can't headline, and they can't deal with adversity because they haven't been there. They haven't been in all the shitty situations.
That's been happening since I can remember in the motion picture TV industry. Do you remember the actor Jan Michael Vincent? He was an actor that had a show called Airwolf, and he was a really super good looking guy. He was in a Charles Bronson movie called The Mechanic, and he played a hitman in training by Charles Bronson. This good looking guy, and they fast tracked him.
Yeah.
He became a star before he really had it together, and then he self-destructed. And that happens over and over again when they fast-track these people too quickly. They burn them out. This happens in the UFC all the time. Sage Northcutt already has had a couple pretty bag losses. What's her name?
Paige Van Zandt. Yeah.
Dancing with the Stars. They put the cart in front of the horse many times. And the thing is that a lot of the public, the dude bro fans, and we talked about this, they don't care one way or another because they just nod their head no matter what they see on TV. As long as it's on TV, they think it's believable.
Oh yeah, no, totally. So yeah. So anyway, another thing I did this weekend was on Instagram. So I went on Instagram and I posted a bunch of my old wrestling videos because I was kind of bored. I'm like, you know what, this will be fun. I never knew how to actually put videos on Instagram myself. I was sort of like figuring it out. And some people actually, like Phil Baroni's like, you're a fish. That of course Phil Baroni's gonna say that. Like, but Phil Baroni's like, I just got engaged, and he's like, dude, you look fat. Do steroids. That was his comment. But it's Phil Baroni. I have to laugh.
Yeah.
But it was cool because Tom Ryan, who's the coach at OSU, who actually recruited me to go to Hofstra, he was like, tough kid from Long Island, keep it up. So that was awesome. Like Tom Ryan is now Kyle Snyder's wrestling coach, and Logan Stiebler and all these amazing wrestlers, and he's taking the time on Twitter to watch my videos. So that made it worth it. But it was hard because when I was in high school, I remember my headmaster sat me down and he goes, I'm very worried about you, Adam. I go, why? He's like, I'm worried that you're never going to have the success in the real world you had in high school. And that always stuck with me. And I was like, I wish he hadn't told me that, you know?
I had the opposite problem.
Oh, really? You didn't have much success in high school?
No, I was basically just want to smoke weed, chase girls, and play drums, and I was not a very good student until after, and then I went to college. It was okay.
I was at before boarding school. This is sent to boarding school for kids with too much energy. But sometimes I worry that I'm like, fuck, did I peak at 17? But then I think, oh no, come on, man. High school, I was a very good wrestler in a very small pond. It was a prep school, class A, and then I wasn't the national champion of public school. I wasn't, Olympic trial guy. Speaking of a guy who got fast track, Aaron Pico is another one. I don't know. You saw on Bellator. You know who that is, Aaron Pico. He's a guy that was the #1 rated high school kid in the country. So they threw him out there, and he lost his first fight in a minute and a half.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a kid, but
I think that the working class looks at that and they're glad for something like that that's supposed to win.
Oh, that always happens to me.
Yeah.
I always root for the guy.
Yeah,
I've been watching LFA recently,
Sure.
and by the way, people are really sleeping on you as the fight professor and Pat Miletich. Pat Miletich is so good at calling fights.
Amazing.
And
I worked with him for 3 years at Showtime with Morrow.
And Pat, that dude, I mean, you talk about the UFC, they had this new Contender Series, and they brought in Snoop Dogg and Uriah Faber. And they actually have Eve Edwards, who's killing it, by the way.
He's amazing.
And Todd Grisham, who I'm not a fan of. Todd Grisham, I mean, when you don't know Sakuraba's name, it's just, come on. It's just, to me, it's hard to get over that. But luckily, but Snoop Dogg's pretty funny for a minute. But I'm happy that they have it. You could actually, because you could change it. I thought they were going to have them the whole time do it, which I think would have been a disaster. But they have this Contender Series, and I'll tell you a funny story. I went to the Palms. Well, not funny, but a story. I go to the Palms, and it was like some lion fight kickboxing, and it was all full. And when I went to go valet my car, and this guy says, "Hey, you're Adam Hunter." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "It would be an honor to valet your car." He goes, "One day you're going to make fun of me. And you're going to roast me." And I go, "Oh, no, you're a fighter?" "Yeah, I am a fighter." And I'm like, "What's your record?" "I'm 2-0. I'm out of Hawaii." I'm like, "Oh, good luck." I tried to pay him. He's like, "Your money's no good." Gives me back my money. And then he thinks, his name is Boston Salmon. And he just got into the UFC based on a fight he did last week. So good job, Boston Salmon. That was pretty damn cool.
There's so many fight shows now. You mentioned LFA, you said Land Fight, you got Bellator Kickboxing, you got Glory Kickboxing, you got all these fights. It's almost like work to try and keep up with this.
It is.
It's like a job. Because back in the days, there used to be only 6 Pride shows a year, and the UFC maybe 8 to 10 a year. So when they happen, it was a really special thing. Now, if you miss one, you don't die,
No, but it is annoying though, because sometimes it is a little bit like
too much.
It's too much. Like last week, Bellator. You watched Bellator last week?
I didn't. I missed it this last week. Sorry, Scott.
It's okay. So Bellator last week, Brandon Gertz and Derek Campos had the fight of the year.
I heard.
It was a fight, and it was a shame because they stopped the fight due to the cut. He had a big cut in his head, and I think he might have won.
Like a crucifix?
He had a crucifix. It was like a Nike symbol on top of his head. And I don't know if he would have lost. He might have lost, but he has got knockout power, and they should make that fight again right away, because it was 1-1, and then this was like the trilogy, but it was such a good fight. It was such a war. It was awesome. That was really cool. And then Kendall Grove lost. Hate to see that. He got submitted. And then
great guy, nice guy.
And then our boy EJ Brooks, who's a big fan of the podcast, who's a guy that just, one of these guys who just, he was in Titan FC, he was in Bellator, he's trying to make his way back. He got a win, really happy. And Biggie Mike Rose lost. That sucks. But I told him, I go, don't worry, man. It was on the Bellator prelims. Nobody saw it. And he was happy about that. Invicta, you watch Invicta?
I don't have Fight Pass.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you not have Fight Pass?
Because it's just a lot. There's just too many fights, and they kind of water each other down. It's like listening to the same bands over and over again. I mean, it's like.
But Jin Yu Fry won. That was the one I watched, and I'm happy her. She's a girl who is like an aerospace engineer or something, and she's hot and she's cool. I think she's married and she's got kids. Invicta has such a great product, and they don't fucking promote it. You never know when the things are. I tell Shannon, I go, pay me to roast the thing.
I don't know it's necessarily her fault, though, because they're lost in the shuffle. There's too much in the herd. There's like Fight Pass. You got all these different fight shows you can watch, but there's too many.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. And it does, you know what? It used to be with Bellator, you weren't that engaged with some of the fighters because you didn't know who they were.
Right.
And I feel like that's where the UFC has gone, especially like last week. They had you watched the card last week?
No.
It was actually a good card. UFC.
I only watch the pay-per-views anymore.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just, unless it's special, because they want us to be addicted to the thing where we watch every week and, this week's better than last week. No, it isn't. How you said that last week and the week before, and you said the same exact thing. And so they have great fighters, they have great techniques, and they're showcasing the thing, and they're going out and getting their brain damaged from the company because that's an exciting fight for them. They don't want any grappling. So they do that, and then everybody, rah, 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 we're going on the next week. And they need that to get that injection of what they want, of what the company is promoting. Conor McGregor. We'll get to that.
Right. We're gonna get to that. It was good though. It was actually, a lot of times when it's not promoted, it was UFC Scotland. It was on Sunday at like 3 p.m. But Gunnar Nelson lost to Ponzinibbio. This dude Ponzinibbio can punch. And Gunnar Nelson, man, one of those things where after Gunnar beat Allen, he looked so good. He looks so good when he wins. But then he got knocked out cold. He didn't know where he was, and he got to give it up to Santiago Ponzinibbio. And then Cynthia Calvillo beat Joanne Calderwood. That was a good fight. That could have went either way. I don't think it was 30-27. It was 29-28. And somebody brought up during this fight. We had Guy Metzger on the podcast last week.
Sure.
And Guy Metzger was saying that UFC is no longer. It's not a sport. I know it's a brand, but MMA has now longer become a sport. It's become entertainment, and it's a sport infused with entertainment. And there's a sport element of it. But he said that fighters were not
I agree
trying.
with him.
You think so?
Yeah, I here's what happens. The ratings, the ranking system are complete bullshit.
That's bullshit.
They don't even use the rankings.
Yeah.
If you get Twitter followers, then you get his title shot. If you're Conor McGregor, you don't have to defend your title, and the whole thing gets held for ransom. So that's not a sport, because every year they have a Super Bowl. If the team can't make it, they put another team in there. You know what I mean, that's the way it is. You got to. The show must go on. But in the fight game, not just the UFC, that's been happening in boxing for decades, maybe since the millennium. I mean, that's the whole thing. And the people just keep nodding their head and they keep watching what they're supposed to watch because that's what they don't have any other choice.
It is crazy. Well, he was also saying that guys, what turns him off the most is that fighters are not going for the finish. He said they're going to just win on points. And
because the threat is if you lose, you're going to get bounced. It's not like, I hate to say it, not old days in Japan, where if you went out, Quentin Jackson, he went over there and lost to Sakuraba. Guess what? That made him a star because of the way he lost. Over here, if you don't get the win, then okay, you're not Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, no, and that's Cynthia. She tried to get the win, she couldn't do it. Khalil Roundtree won his fight where he knocked him out and then stood over him and just stared at him. And a lot of people were upset about that because of the sportsmanship thing. They go, and I know Khalil. He came to his show. I know his coach, John Wood. I like John Wood a lot. If I was coaching him, he would have been talked to. Like, come on, man. Like you got to act like you've been there before. It's like when a kid celebrates too much. Hey, man, act like you were supposed to win.
People are going to be emotionally invested in him, though, even though it would be a negative sense. But, you stood over the guy, what a cocky move. They're still going to talk about it and remember him because he would have just gotten all humble and everything. They would have forgotten right about him because of all these shows week after week after week. But they're going to remember him hoping that he's going to lose. Back in the days, people used to watch Muhammad Ali hoping he'd lose to shut him up because they hated him. People forget that because now, the poor guy had Parkinson's and poor guy. But they forget all this stuff like this. So him doing that, it was actually going to be a blessing in disguise. There is no such thing as bad publicity.
All right. I understand. And then there was a guy.
It was a dick move, though.
It was a total dick move. There was a guy, Galore Bafando, who he beat Charlie Ward he took the guy and just pushed him down and then knocked him out that way. Wow. It was like get the fuck off me. Just basically just threw him on the ground and then the guy knocked out.
It's like one of those YouTube videos from like 7th grade.
It's exactly what it was. It was like a Sharkeisha move it was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And then I'm very happy that my girl Leslie Smith won. Leslie Smith looked great. I feel like Leslie, they're
Do you have a problem with partiality when you say your girl? What about the other girl? I mean, but you're not a journalist.
No,
you're not a broadcaster.
Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck you want, right?
Well, it feels like with Leslie, they're giving her. They're upset about her starting a union, and so they keep putting her and giving her to like the Wolves, and she's winning. They're basically putting her first fight in on Fight Pass, and they did that. I was with Jay Haran and Gray Maynard. They put him the first fight on Fight Pass against Ishihara, and Jay Haran was like, "Man, fuck this! Like after all the Gray Maynard has done for the sport,
I know."
And they gave him a kid that like was supposed to beat him. He was the favorite, and then Gray won, which was awesome. But
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, I like Maynard a lot.
Me too. I did a movie with him. It was Gray Maynard, Ernie Reyes Jr., John Savage from The Deer Hunter, Frank Shamrock was in it, and it was called Red Canvas. Then it later became Submission. Then it became Money Fight. But Gray was an awesome guy, and Tyson Griffin was also in the movie too. And Gray, great guy, tough guy, really.
Yeah.
Frankie Edgar. How many times did they fight? Like some of the greatest fights in the UFC history.
Yeah.
Really.
Totally. Gray's, and he's one of those things. I think Frankie Edgar ruins people. Like guys are never the same after him. Like BJ Penn never the same after him. Cub lost his fight after him, but then now he's on a roll. And I'm Cub Swanson's my friend. I love Cub Swanson, but I really think that Max Holloway Edgar is the fight to make because both those guys beat Cub, and I don't know. I just think that's a really good fight to make, and I think Cub gets the winner of that fight. But
I agree with you. I think they've got to have some kind of semblance of logic. What Guy Mesger said, it's not a sport. I think that the core issue is the rankings and how they don't have title shots to people that are ranked number one. Jacare sat in limbo for a long time, then eventually burned out, and then started losing fights as a result, because you can only stay and tread water so long, and then you start to lose heart.
No, look at Yoel Romero. But also LFA last week, Darren Elkins lost, and Darren Elkins, I'm pretty sure it was Darren Elkins. No, Johnny Bedford. Johnny Bedford lost. Johnny Bedford, and Bedford lost to a kid that he beat in a grappling tournament, and he lost by submission. And I think sometimes when you like beat someone and then have to fight them, you overlook them. You're like, oh, I beat this kid. It was pretty easy, and that's kind of what happened.
People change too. Mike Tyson lost to Henry Tillman in the amateurs. Then they fought as a pro, and he crushed him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people do change over time. Especially, you get that confidence factor, you get on a roll, and you get into the big boys. It's like the difference between pro boxing and amateur boxing. Amateur boxing, not about the knockouts. Let's say if you fight in Thailand and you fight in the things where they want that fight to go the distance so they can bet on it. A lot of times those fighters go over to Europe and fight guys that are trying to knock them out in the first round and don't do as well.
Right.
There's a lot of other factors behind the scenes.
Now let's talk about the Conor McGregor thing. I don't see how Conor McGregor wins this fight. He's fighting a guy who's never
fighting. Just kidding.
I mean, this guy never lost. And by the way, McGregor's like, somebody's O has to go. McGregor has already lost 3 times. Like O in boxing, you're 0-0 in boxing. Like your O win is gonna go basically. But he's fighting a guy who is the best defensive boxer ever. He beat. Look at the guys he's beaten. Everybody from De La Hoya to Zab Judah to
Manny Pacquiao.
Canelo to Manny Pacquiao.
Maidana twice.
And people are convinced, though. People are saying, well, McGregor, he's so much bigger, he hits harder, but so what? And Brendan Schaub, I don't know if Showtime's paying him to be, but for him to say that he thinks McGregor is going to win and that bigger gloves are an advantage for him, like how is more cushion an advantage when it comes to the only shot this guy has is by knockout?
Have you ever heard of the term gaslighting? There's a term gaslighting. I want you to Google it and look it up. It's where if you tell a lie enough times, some people are going to start to believe it. If you bullshit enough, people, I think Conor McGregor, that left hand, Chapman, they won't know about the behind the scenes, especially when people are ignorant about what really goes on. It's like the Mayweathers are always quick to say, people don't know shit about boxing. Okay, great, fine. We don't know as much as you do. You, Roger, and all those people in the gym. That's a fact. And when Floyd boxes, a lot of people don't understand what they're watching. Before Floyd fought Manny Pacquiao, people say, it's going to be like, God, he wore that. No, it isn't. Haven't you ever? And then after the fight, they're complaining. Floyd didn't do anything. He ran. I said, have you never seen him fight before?
Yeah.
People always think that something new is going to happen, but it's basically Einstein's definition of the word insanity. You're getting the same thing happening over and over again, yet you think something different is going to happen. You're fucking crazy.
People are going to pay $100 for this. $100.
I'm not.
$100. I mean, what's your prediction?
Conor McGregor first round knockout, 45 seconds. No, actually 46 seconds.
Well, what's your prediction for this fight?
I think it's probably going to go about 5 rounds, and then Conor's going to get finished. I think he's going to get outclassed. I think Conor's only shot is to go out there and try and just blast him and try and blitz him. I mean, to hang on the outside with Floyd Mayweather, it's not going to happen. Now, Floyd notoriously is not a knockout puncher against guys like Canelo, who hit a lot harder than Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Now, see, if you hang around the outside, see, Conor's a counterpuncher. He waited for Jose Alta to run in on him and clip him with the right hand. That ain't going to happen with Floyd. Floyd's going to be doing that sidestep thing, and you can't hit certain areas and things like that. I think it's going to be a really bad fight. I think it's not going to be very good. And people are going to complain and piss and moan, but then the promoters are just going to laugh and count their money, and Conor's going to laugh and count his money. I think Conor McGregor, I have to say, I really, really think he's doing a smart thing here. I do. I think he's a freaking borderline genius. He's the best salesman, best pitchman since Ali, maybe better than Ali, because Ali, it was actually a challenge when he fought Foreman, when he fought Ken Norton, when he fought Joe Frazier, when he fought all those guys. Those guys actually, some of them actually beat him. Ken Norton beat him, and these guys actually beat him. So he still snake oil charmed people to think he could beat Larry Holmes and things like that, even though people knew he couldn't. Conor McGregor is going to do the same thing that Floyd Mayweather did with boxing. He used boxing. He didn't let boxing use him and kick him to the curb. Conor McGregor, on the other hand, never defended a title in the UFC, but people don't care because he's got the backing, he's popular, he got all the Twitter followers, and he's going to use boxing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he retired from fighting, and that way he'd save his faculties, have his brain. When he raises his child, he'd be a good father and remember his mother's maiden name and stuff like that.
I mean, it's crazy. It was funny. It was entertaining, these press conferences. I was watching them. I was like, the first one was good. The first one sucked. The second one was really good. But Mayweather is not a great shit talker. Everyone's like, oh, he's a great. No, he's not. He's great when it comes to.
He is when he interviews with Larry Merchant.
After the fight, he's good. And when he, what really people like about Mayweather are those 24/7 specials.
Yeah.
Because you get to see it in the life of Mayweather. That's what people like to see. They're like, oh my God, he's with the strippers and the girls and his dad and he's fighting. That's when you're like actually like Mayweather. But as far as like just being a shit talker, he's not good at all.
No.
He just and he's just like, he kept going, yeah, and then.
I think that these fight companies, the UFC, should have a different category for fight. They should have the one where they fight, and then they should have a separate category where they never lay a glove on each other, and they just shit talk. And that we can get guys from the street and everything. Hey, fuck you,
Yeah.
You can just say how many times they can say fuck to each other, because fighting has nothing to do with that, and that has nothing to do with fighting.
I know.
But people somehow think it does.
People were scoring the press conferences. I'm like, this is not a real debate. This is, give me a break. And then the undercard is going to be all Floyd's guys. They should I know
CM Punk would be the undefeated champion then.
Yeah, 100%. Like I know Don Fry called out Tyson. He wanted to fight Tyson on the undercard. That would have been great. Tyson would have went through him, but I still would have watched it.
Yeah, you have to go watch the Jerome Lebanon fight with Don Fry to really catch up on that. It was a kickboxing fight on the Shockwave thing. It didn't go well for Don.
But
Don's not really. I mean, he had some boxing fights early on, but Don. I love Don Fry. Don't get.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought Don should get into movies, and he did that commercial. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. Sorry. Back to Connor.
Right.
Connor.
But Don Fry, did you call his fight with Akibono?
No.
Did you call that one fight against
Takayama.
Takayama? You
Yeah,
called.
where the
He beat Akaboni as well. That huge fat guy.
Yeah.
He beat him too. I watched the replay of it the other
Yeah.
day.
And how was that?
Well,
Did you feel like you wanted your 15 minutes back?
no, because Fry took him down and then pounded him out. It was like
I remember one time on Inoki Bombaye, which they always put Antonio Inoki pro wrestlers against K1 fighters, against Pride fighters, all mixed matches on New Year's Eve. And Don Fry fought a K1 guy who knocked out Peter Arts. His name was Cyril Abadi, I think. It was a Moroccan guy. It was really, really hard puncher. It was an MMA fight, though. Don took him down, beat the living shit out of him, and rear naked choked the guy in like a minute or something.
yeah. Don was.
He was back then. He was a freaking killer.
Yeah, he was always a killer, and then he started getting. He said painkillers, and you know.
I think that fight where he didn't tap out from the heel hook from Ken Shamrock, I think that really did him in, and it started the downfall because you can only be a tough guy so much. You're not going to go out and I'm not going to tap out, and then his knee got popped so many times in that fight by the heel hooks. And then you're going to be limping around. Don said, well, I'll just go in and rest in the sea and let the salt water do it. And Don, no, man. And
yeah, there was a kid last week, actually. His name is Brendan Lewis, 18-year-old kid who fought. He's 3-0. He's now 4-0. His opponent didn't tap out from a heel hook. Second round, his knee gave out. I think he probably tore an ACL or something. But this kid, he's 18 years old. His first amateur fight was when he was 15. Which is crazy, but he was a nice kid. After he won, he Mom, I love you. He's like, I know you guys were booing me. You know, that's really cool. I want to thank you for showing up. You don't see that anymore.
you can't help but like someone like that who just in the face of booing and people hating him, they just give love back to you. I mean, after a while, they wear you down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a fan of his, so I'm looking forward to watching him fight again. And you know what? I know they have the guy. They got rid of the guy from Australia, who I thought was great. The announcer from Australia, who was always making those crazy rhymes. You know what I'm talking about? The Voice.
Oh yeah, Michael Chavala. I don't. Why did he move?
I don't know. He was.
I always liked him. Him and Pat was a good team.
He was great.
It was a great team.
Yeah, he was absolutely
Michael
great.
Chavala, yeah.
They got rid of him. I don't know if he left or what happened there, but I wish they would bring him back because now they have.
Ron Kruk.
Yeah, Ron Kruk, who's okay. He's good.
Yeah.
But Chavello just is too big of a hole. You know, it's like also when you get used to a guy like Chavello.
I'm lucky because I've worked with all these guys. I worked with Ron Kruk a million times at Glory and the old WEC. He used to be the roving reporter when I was doing the commentary with Ryan Bennett and Jeff Blatnick for old WEC.
Wow.
And then I got to work with Pat, obviously, for Showtime, and then Michael Chavello. We got to host a Glory tournament at the Forum, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm very blessed to have worked with a lot of these guys. And yeah, you're right. Michael Chavello is awesome.
Well, when Kruk, I want to make sure this is recorded. When Kruk put down Ben Askren, that's when I actually kind of lost it on Kruk. He insulted Askren. He had Askren on a show, and he said, "When are you going to fight real people? You're kind of fighting minor leaguers." And he was just sort of like, and then he cut him off. And
Was that on Inside MMA?
Yeah, Inside MMA.
So they're going party line trying to, because the UFC didn't like him, so they jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and after that, I just sort of lost it a little bit on Kruk, just because I'm a big Ben Askren fan, and
yeah, he's a great fighter. I mean, he gets it done his way, and if you can't block the takedown, then what are you going to do? Fix the fight into where you got to kickbox one round and then wrestle the next round? I mean,
and he's also a guy that he's making. North of 100,000 a fight to fight guys in Singapore versus getting, Terrion Ware, who we had on the show. Terrion got called to go to the UFC 2 weeks ago on 10 days' notice. He took a fight against a wrestler that he's not a wrestler, but he took the fight against a wrestler, and they gave him $10,000 for $10,000 to fight. Now he's got to pay out his manager, his lawyer, his camp. He's going to walk away with $4,000.
Yeah.
So, they would probably offer Ben, being the name he is, 20 and 20, 30 and 30. Fuck that.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
I know the UFC is the best company, but if I'm Ben Askren and Singapore is giving me north of 100 to fight people, plus probably bonuses, of course I'm going to do that.
Honestly, there's a lot of exploitation of naivety because a lot of these kids come in and they think, well, I'm going to be famous. I'm going to be GSP. I'm going to be Anderson Silva and make millions of dollars. And there's a very, very small percentage of people that actually do that because there's such a labyrinth of challenges behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about training and learn how to defend a heel hook or whatever it is you got to do. You got to all these political things. Then you get into the position, and then you got to fight this guy, and then your fight gets switched.
Yeah.
And then you turn it down. If you turn it down, then you're on the shit list of the company. That affects your training and your motivation and stuff like this. There's a lot of psychological thing. In many ways, Adam, it doesn't pay to be a fighter.
No, also taxes. We got don't forget about taxes that you have to pay on it.
Well,
everything.
my tax attorney is Nick Diaz, so I mean they take care of it.
Yeah, so it's just 100%. All right, here we go. All right, so now I'm going to call Tonya Evinger, who is fighting Cyborg at UFC 214. And I really hope Tonya Evinger wins. She's been on the show, 20 times. Cool as shit. Nice person. A little misunderstood sometimes, but talk about a girl who lives life the way she wants to live. And I give her a lot of credit. I mean, she should have already been in the UFC. She was the Invicta champion. She's won her last 9 out of 10 fights, but they wouldn't put her in the UFC, and then finally they're like, "Hey, you could be in the UFC, but you got to fight Cyborg." That's kind of. But hey, look, she's getting a title shot, so that's pretty cool. So I'm calling Tonya Evinger right now. I hope Tonya wins. I think Tonya can. Hey, Tonya Evinger.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. You're on the MMA Roasted podcast. It's me and the fight professor, Steve Quadros.
Hey, guys.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. I can't wait to watch your fight. I'm trying to get tickets. I hit up Dana. I'm trying to get tickets. I'm so excited for you to fight Cyborg. I'm so happy for you that you finally are. I mean, this is going to be probably the best card of the year, the biggest fight. Cormier, you're going to have so many eyes on you. You went from like literally working, construction to now being in the main event on the biggest card of the year. Congratulations for that, by the way.
Thank you. I wish we ended up making more money in the long run because then I wouldn't have to go back to doing construction. But you know how it goes.
Right. Now, how did this happen? When did you find out about it? Did you even think twice about it? Talk to me.
Yeah, they called me that weekend right before I signed, and they actually released it. Well, they released it on Monday or something like that. They called me that weekend, and my manager asked me, and obviously I have the same manager as Chris, so when he called me, he's like, "This is kind of weird for me to hear, or I don't know how you take this." And obviously, man, I'm there to fight, so I'm gonna take any fight. I definitely am not afraid to fight people. So that's never been a problem. I'm just there to fight. So I'm going to take whatever job pays the most. Let's do it.
Now, now, was there any doubt? Did you actually think about it? Do you have to think about it or think it over? Were you going back and forth? Or you just said yes right away?
No, I said yes. I mean, I don't have, I think, like I said in several interviews, I've been thinking about this fight for a while. I think that, it was something that's kind of been thrown in front of me, like, would you fight her, quite a few times. And obviously every time I said yes, I just can't let fear of somebody be a reason I don't fight, or I would never fight. You know what I mean? I think that it's scary all around. So I just want to get in there and I'm a prize fighter. I fight for money.
Now, everybody that I've talked to that has fought Cyborg says to me after the fight, I've never been hit that hard in my life. How are you preparing for this?
Them people, I think that if you watch their fights, man, they go in there to get hit. I don't go into fights to get hit. I go in there to win fights. I don't go in there to have a battle back and forth. And I think my fighting style shows that. And I usually come out of the fights untouched. So I think that, I'm completely different on that end. Especially, I'm not going to go in there and cover up and take some punishment. That ain't the kind of game I play. So I get hit every day by guys. I mean, I'm sure she don't hit as hard as most of the guys in my gym. Maybe some of the guys I hit harder than some of the guys, but I've been hit pretty hard, and it is what it is. And I don't know, I hit pretty hard too, man.
Tonya, last time I saw you, it was in Elite XC and it was in Hawaii, and you fought Gina Carano. How is Cyborg different than Gina?
Man, that was a long time ago. To even talk about that fight is a little ridiculous. I think that that whole fight was weird. They brought me in. She didn't make weight. They didn't have a community. They didn't give a shit that she didn't make weight. They just kind of told me, oh, well, you either fight or you don't. At the time, I was young, and I had a shitty-ass manager that didn't know what the hell he was doing, and he just told me I didn't have no choice. And then they put me in a locker room, and then they came in and said, no, you got to come over here and warm up, and put me in another locker room. And then they came back and said, no, you got to warm up outside in this tent. So they kind of fucked with my head the whole fight. And, I did an interview on some other things that happened. Obviously, I don't want to repeat them because that dipshit keeps trying to sue me over it. So, there's a lot of things that happened that event that I didn't even want to fight. I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, and I wasn't there to fight. I just wanted to get out of there and whatever, So, I think there are things that I've grown past and I learned how to deal with and stuff like that. And whatever. I'm here today, and I've obviously kind of had my downfalls in my career, and I picked myself up and learned from them and made myself a better fighter.
No, you totally a girl who I just try to base my comedy on your fighting career. You never go away. You're like, fuck it. You're like, okay, I'm losing there. I can't get in the tough house. No worries. You become the Invicta champion. You're just a girl that you have so much tenacity, Tonya, and you're so inspiring, and you're a nice person. I know some people will disagree with that, but me knowing you, you're a super nice, and you got a huge heart. And your mom saw me on TV in Kansas City, by the way. But is the plan on this fight, because it does seem like everybody who gets into a fucking rock'em sock'em robot with Cyborg loses. And you've been 5 rounds a lot, especially in your last couple fights. Are you going to try to tire her out, grind her against a cage, use your wrestling, take her to the later rounds?
Man, I win fights with my style. And, obviously she wins fights with her style. But I think that, I'm a completely different fighter than she's faced, and probably the same with her as I faced. But, I think every girl comes out there and tries to knock my head off, but they just aren't that great. So I think I'm just a smarter fighter in the long haul. After the rounds are over and stuff, I'm winning every minute of every round, and that's the way I think about it. And I'm always trying to finish people, and I'm always putting that pressure on, and I'm always fighting back. I think that a lot of her opponents have been on the defensive side when they go in there. So I don't play that game. I don't want to get beat up. Nobody wants to get the shit beat out of them. I mean, come on. I don't go in there to get punched on, and then maybe I'll punch you a couple times. That's just not the type of fighter I am. But I don't know. We're fighting in 2 weeks, so there's really, she did block me on Twitter. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's bullshit. What's up with that?
Over the weekend, there's somebody with a little fake account, and obviously I think it's her boyfriend, and people are like, no way, she hates Tony Ferguson, and he's friends with Tony Ferguson, or that count is. Well, no shit, it's a fake account, people. How stupid are you?
You don't think that she speaks perfect English?
So, this guy, whoever it is, just talks mad shit on every one of her opponents, and obviously I thought it was him, and I still think it's him, but anyway, she came on and said that ain't him, and he got super defensive on that as soon as I called him out, and then he started saying that I said all this other stuff, and I'm like, well, where's the tweets that I said all this stuff? Like, show me what you're talking about, because they're nowhere. And then all of a sudden I realized that she blocked me, and it is what it is. I don't give a shit. We're fighting in 2 weeks, so it's whatever.
So
whatever, man.
Tonya, the behind the scenes distractions like this with the Twitter and the blocking and all this kind of stuff, has that ever affected your performance, and how do you feel going into this fight with Cyborg?
I think that people think it does. If you watch every time I fight, you got these turd balls coming on and talking shit to me and telling me all this stuff. And every time I'm going to lose, and I'm fighting the greatest fighter in the world, and I'm about to get my ass kicked every single fight. And I think people are so dumb, and they believe all this hype, and they see a pretty girl, and they think that, oh, she's got some Muay Thai, she's going to kick Tonya Evinger's ass. Well, man, I just want them to know that I sacrificed the look of this body for performance. That's why I look this way. Nah, Whatever, man. I don't feel muscle like them, but I guarantee I'm just as strong or stronger than most of the girls out there. So, I don't know. No, it doesn't bother me at all. It kind of keeps me entertained and distracts me. And some people get on there and be like, hey, shouldn't you be training? Shouldn't you be focusing on this? Well, why don't you shut the hell up? I don't train 24 hours a day, obviously. And I'm not a punk, man. I'm not going to sit here and let somebody badmouth me online without saying something back. I don't give a shit if they all jump on me afterwards and call me all these disgusting names. I'm still not going to let you say something without saying something back. That's just how I am.
That's what we love about you.
No, whatever.
The fight's at 145. What do you walk around at?
I walk around at 165.
Okay, good. Okay, so it's actually better for you at 45.
Yeah, I mean, I was already on my way down from for the Invicta fights anyway, and I kind of got down to about 55, and then they called me about this fight, and I've already been training in training camp hard, so. My coach is like, put some weight back on, but it just doesn't happen when you're training so hard, So I just kind of wrote it out, and I just been hanging out at 55 and trying to hold this 10 pounds on, and just cut this last 10 pounds this last week, and I'll be good.
Now, I've met 3 of your girlfriends before. I met, obviously, Michelle Old. We're not going to talk about her. But then I met that little Mexican girl that came up to me in Vegas that was like, hey, I'm Tonya's old girlfriend. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I met the model that you picked up on Tinder or Grindr that you came into.
No, I didn't pick her up on anything. I met her at a gay bar.
Oh, yeah, that girl.
I don't meet people online, guys, just so you know.
Okay.
I don't have to meet these girls online. I'm way better looking in person.
You are. You're a very good-looking girl. Especially when you put makeup on and actually look like a girl. Okay, but I'm saying,
yeah.
so you are a very attractive girl. You got those freckles and those eyes, and when you actually get done up, I'm like, damn, if only she liked. Anyway, so any girlfriends now? Dating anybody?
No. I have kind of told myself a while back when I was fighting for Invicta that I'm not gonna freaking have any freaking girlfriends, because obviously then that's on my brain instead of fighting, and I don't like any distractions. So I don't like drama. I don't like to answer to anybody, and obviously girls need a lot of attention, and I don't want to give them a lot of attention. I want to focus on my career and my freedom.
So you haven't been.
I just do what I do.
So you haven't been laid in how long?
Have I not had a girlfriend?
No. When was the last time you got laid? What was it? How long's it been?
Oh, I'm not saying I don't have. I'm not saying I don't date girls. I just don't. They aren't my girlfriend.
Oh, okay. So you're still getting your thing on, right? You're still hooking up.
Yeah.
Still, all right.
Yeah, come on.
I got to make sure. Now, is everybody now? Are you working at all construction?
No, I haven't been working for a little bit since I took that Invicta fight. I stopped, and every fight I just kind of take off and focus on fighting. I'm going to make a payday, so I don't need to work during that time. And, then I blow my whole wallet in my savings account for my training camp, and then I turn around and fight and make a little more.
Good. I'm so happy for you. I mean, I am so rooting for you, Tonya. I think you can do it. Honestly, people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, no. Tonya has the style and the grit, and I just feel like you can break her. Nobody's ever stood up to her. It's like the bully that no one stands up to. But I feel like you can stand up to the bully.
I think that she is that, and I think that people are so intimidated when they first go in there, man, and they're victims. They're victims right off the bat. And I'm sorry, but I cannot let somebody beat the shit out of me. I'm going to fight back. It's crazy.
Now, Steve, what would you tell Tonya if you were in her corner?
I would say be sure that when you do the post-fight interview that you call out somebody or do something spectacular and make people remember you, because that's your moment. The fight itself, we know what you need to do. You need to get into the clinch. You need to tangle her up and get your arms around her neck. But that post-fight interview is where you get paid, Tonya.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, now, in Invicta, you used to make out with the girl who was talking to you. Are you going to try that with Rogan?
What did she say? Hell no. I obviously don't kiss guys, so they're all safe in the UFC. But obviously, if them girls want to make out afterwards, I'm available and single.
You've never kissed a guy in your life?
Yeah, and obviously I didn't like it. I'm super gay now. Disgusted. Hey, so I went on Twitter yesterday or the day before, and I said, that's it. I'm starting over on Facebook. I'm deleting all the dudes, and I'm only adding the ladies because I only like the ladies.
Come on.
And I seriously had so many dudes like, fine, we won't follow you. We just won't watch you. I used to be a fan, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, then delete yourself, bro. Don't follow me. And we're talking about Twitter. I was talking about Facebook, but this is on Twitter when people are saying it. And he's like, already done. Guys are so ridiculous.
Yeah, but
get the hell off my Facebook so that I can add more girls.
Oh,
like, what
come
is
on.
wrong with you?
Yeah, but
people
they're-
are so stupid. They have no sense of humor.
You're so funny. You're so now. Are your parents? Have they finally come to terms that you're a lesbian? Or are they still waiting for you to go back to guys?
Well, my brother says my mom keeps talking about maybe someday, but I think she's hitting that peace pipe a little too hard because it ain't gonna happen. There's no way I want to go back and ever kiss a dude again. It wasn't fun the first time. I know it ain't gonna be again.
Wait, how old
now
were you?
Now that I'm older,
how old were you when you
can't go back?
How old were you when you kissed this dude?
When was the last time I kissed a dude? Shoot. Well, there was this one time in college where I was super drunk, and I only kissed the dude so I could kiss his girlfriend. But, I mean, that's like a sacrifice that I was willing to take. You know what I mean? The girl was super hot.
Did it work?
It was just one of them things.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked.
So you,
Hell yeah, it worked.
So you kissed the guy, and then he was like, "You can kiss my girlfriend now."
Well, I was trying to kiss her, but he was a little uptight, so we had to like negotiate this.
That's hilarious. How many girls have you turned?
I date pretty much all straight girls. It's weird. Like, they're always straight when I meet them. And then, I don't know. I like the challenge, man.
Oh, Jesus.
Them gay girls are just not as fun.
You're never meeting my wife. My wife is not going. My wife's going nowhere near you. I do not need her.
Straight girls love me, and moms love me. I'm waiting to pull that little hat trick. Get a mom and a daughter. Obviously not at the same time, because that'd be gross. But I'm trying to get a hat trick going on here.
Have you hooked up with a lot of girls that have kids?
That have kids, yes.
All right. And did the kids usually like you? I mean, if I was a kid and you were my new dad, I'd be thrilled. I'd be like, my dad, you like fight and
yeah, because I would beat up their dad. That's it.
Wow.
Hey, so I was at Invicta this weekend, and Laura Sanko, that girl I kissed on Invicta, she was having a birthday party for her son, and obviously I'm good friends with her and her husband. They didn't press charges, so we became friends. I'm just kidding. I was friends with them before then.
Right.
But so they invite me and the Ring Girls to go over to their house for a birthday party. So me and the Ring Girls and my coach Zuber over there and stuff. And I was like, well, it's about time for me to meet your son. He's got to meet who his new daddy is.
Oh,
it was super funny.
That's hilarious.
Her husband's got a good sense of humor, you know what I mean? But yeah, he had to meet me. I mean, it's just about time.
All right, so who are the top 3 girls at 135 and 115 that you'd like to date?
Oh, shit.
Or even just hook up with. You don't have to date them. You're just like top 3 girls. All right, Paige Van Zandt, 15.
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely hump her.
You'd hump her. Rowdy Beck?
Yeah. No. I don't like girls that hump a lot of people or look kind of have the image that they hump a lot of people. It kind of grosses me out.
Right, totally got
I keep
it.
saying I'm looking for that virgin. A virgin.
Joanna
A real virgin.
Joanna Janjunchek?
Virgin. Yeah, she's cute.
She's cute. Claudia, the Brazilian, she's hot. The Brazilian, come on. Claudia.
Yeah, there's just something about her that I don't. Yeah, I'd probably hump her.
you probably hump her. All right. What about Kat Zingano?
No.
No. Why not?
I just know her from way back, and I know her.
Yeah, I got it. Sarah McMahon.
Yeah, not about it. No.
No. Misha Tate.
No. Come on.
Julia Budd.
Julia Budd. Yeah, she's cute. Julia Budd.
No. No.
I
I have a thing about it. I have a thing about girls that are bigger than me too.
Okay.
I don't like girls that are bigger than me. I like to be.
What about the Ring
I like
Girls?
to be the boy in the relationship.
Jessica Penny.
Yeah, she's cute.
Jessica Penny's cute. There we
I
go.
liked her. I liked her before she had her little nose thing done.
You know what? I think girls are better, but with their bigger noses as well. I think that makes them different. And then when they get their nose
think
jobs, yeah.
Yeah, I think that she stood out a little bit more, and I liked her. She's a little bit unique and stuff. But the one that had to deal with it my whole life, so obviously I can't say shit.
I totally agree. What about Juliana Pena?
Yeah, I'd hump her.
She'd be very. You wouldn't date her though. Too much drama, right? She seems like a girl.
Yeah, no. I would say I wouldn't date any of them girls.
Right.
I thought we were just talking about humping.
Humping, that's totally.
How come it's all UFC girls? You know, Invicta's full of really hot girls.
That's true. We were just talking about Jen Fry, a very attractive girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Right. Did Jen Fry?
Yeah.
What about the girl that you beat, Pani Kianzad?
No.
What about threesome?
I don't like any.
What about threesome with Tisha Torres and Raquel Pennington?
No.
Why?
Come on. No, I wouldn't hump either one of them. Come on.
Okay, all right.
Let's get real. Let's get real now.
I'm getting real. All right. Amber Brown?
No.
No. What about Roxanne Modaffari? She's a virgin. Roxanne Modaffari's got to be, right? Roxanne
Modaffari is not a virgin. She had sex one time.
Really? With who?
Yeah. The Japanese guy.
With who? A Japanese guy. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Hey, there's this. I would hump that that girl from where's she at? She won on Invicta this weekend. That Tuna.
Oh yeah, the girl that won. Yeah. Okay.
David's daughter chick.
Yeah.
I'd hump her or something about her. I swear, when I talk to her, she looks at me like so hard, wants to look in my eyes. I'm like, is this like do they do that over there? Is that how they talk, or do you want to fuck? I don't know. I'm getting mixed signals here. I don't understand it, but yeah.
Well, got it. What about the karate hottie? Come on, you'd hit that.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. And the karate hottie, that's probably. And then what about Ronda Rousey?
No.
Why wouldn't you hump Ronda?
Her personality.
Yeah,
a lot of them girls are actually questionable because of their personality. I like sweet girls, man. I like really sweet, innocent-y kind of girls. Sometimes they're looking really fine, but their personality is just a complete turn off.
What about Jessica?
I'm sure that a lot of people. Jessica who?
Jessica. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably hump her.
Aspen Ladd?
No.
Oh, you know who the girl who came to my show that trains over, there was a girl that came to my show that is in the UFC, the girl that lost to what's her name? The girl that, on the Ultimate Fighter, the black girl, who's a really good striker, she lost to her. She lost to Angela Hill.
Angela Hill?
Yeah, the girl that she beat is really hot. She's super hot. You know what I'm talking about? She was in Invicta.
She just fought her on UFC?
Yeah. You would like her. You would definitely like her. I'm gonna find her name right now.
I'd probably hunt both them Mexican girls too, Aldana and Grasso.
Oh yeah, those.
Both them.
Ashley Yoder.
Oh, Yoder, yeah. I don't like her personality too much, but I don't know her that well. I just think she's kind of cocky, but I don't know her, so I guess I can't even make that judgment.
Well, of course. What about what's her name? The girl, the girl who's always naked, who fought the girl that shit herself.
Felice?
Yeah, Felice Herrig.
Felice seems like she has sex with a lot of people.
Right. Okay. You're tough. You gotta have. You got a hot girl who doesn't put out. Basically, is what you're looking for.
Yeah. That's what I want. A hot girl that doesn't put out. That's exactly what I want.
That's hard. There's not that many of them.
Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah.
I know. That's why I'm single.
Yeah.
I'm holding out for the best deal.
What about Betch Kahea?
No.
Why? She got a nice butt. Nice butt.
She's disgusting. She probably has a disease.
She's probably got a disease. This is the best. She's the best. Isn't this girl the best? Tonya, how could you not love Tonya? The most honest human being I ever met in my entire life.
Tonya, you are awesome. Seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, and it's truthful to a fault, man.
Yes.
Honest to a fault. That's why people are like, I hate that bitch.
It's like,
I have lots of haters, and probably half the girls are going to hate me because of this. Either because I want to fuck them or I don't.
Now, when I gotta ask, because I don't know much about lesbian sex other than stuff I've seen on the internet. Like, when you say you fuck them, is it like you put a toy in them, or you have the strap on and get behind them? Like, how does it work? Tell me about lesbian sex with you.
Well, if I told you, then you guys would almost be on the same level as me, and I can't do that. Plus, it gets way too graphic and sexual, and like you guys would be banging the bottom of the table over there. No way.
No, really? Come on.
No, I don't feel. I'm not going to tell you how I
I mean,
have sex with girls. What's wrong with you?
Is it like a rabbit? Do you use the rabbit and just like?
It's like it's magical. It's just something you can't describe. It's magical, and that's why they're all in love.
That's why they all fall in love with you. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, man. There's just something great about it.
Yes. All right. Well, listen, Tonya. Good luck. I will be there. Okay. In victory or defeat, I love you. I have a feeling you're gonna win. I'm putting money on you. I'm putting money on you.
I know you guys like to put pressure on me by saying that, but
no, I'm just saying.
I'm trying to win this fight. I tell you right now, I'm trying to win this freaking fight.
Yes, you can do it. I know you can do it. I know you can. You listen. Nobody has worked harder than you. Okay, and that's all you got to know. That you've earned this spot. You've earned it. From college wrestling to Strikeforce to Invicta to here to all the fights you've had, you deserve to be here. And people are bringing you in because they think you're going to lose, but you're not going to lose because you always prove them wrong. Okay? So
I love proving people wrong.
I know.
Especially the men.
Yes, exactly. So good luck, Tonya.
Good luck, Tonya.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care.
I appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks. Respect.
All right, that was Tonya Evinger. Gotta love that girl, huh?
She's awesome, man. Seriously.
I hope I one day have a son just like her. No, she's amazing.
She really is. I mean, she's super tough, and she makes the adjustments, and she's on a roll right now.
Yeah,
she is. I mean, she's got the kind of blunt trauma style. It's like a crash test dummy style, and she'll go in there and she doesn't care. It's not about a beauty pageant. She's not looking for Twitter followers. She's just looking to get rough and dirty, and that's what she's going to do against Chris.
That's the thing is, I think people they go in there and it's like Tyson when they fought Tyson. They lose right before and Tyson said he knew it
psychologically. Even
when I was in high school. My senior year wrestling, I was undefeated. I went 21-1. I lost my last match in the national semifinals. I got the third round. I got impetigo and ended up losing. Couldn't train, but whatever. But my point is that like I had an air about me that people never gave me the matches they gave other wrestlers because they lost before they got me, and that was a very small thing. Times that by 1,000. And you've got what it's like fighting Cyborg or fighting Tyson and fighting these bullies. And these people, they fall apart. They fall apart. They get hit once, they go, fuck.
And there's the stuff that she's been behind the scenes and taken all this shit and all these pressures and lost some and come back. And then now she's endured the losses and become a better fighter as a result. A lot of people, they get beat up in their mind. You can't break her mentally.
They would have quit. A lot of people would have quit. A lot of people would have said, you know what? I mean, she does construction during the fucking day. Yeah. She was the Invicta champion.
Yeah.
What other champions of organizations, which is the best female organization other than the UFC in the world, and they got to work. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and it's like one of those things where anytime you make a living doing something that you enjoy, you end up paying the price because everybody wants to do it. When you're younger, most 6-year-olds, they don't say, I want to be an accountant. Or unless their dad's an accountant, or they go, "Oh, what do you want to do? I want to be a
drummer.
I want to do ad sales for a pharmaceutical company." You don't hear that from an 8-year-old, okay? But you will hear, "I want to be a fighter. I want to be a musician. I want to be an actor. I want to be a comedian." The comedians are probably fourth on that list. I want to be
priest.
Priest. Whatever you want to. So anytime you do one of those jobs that everybody wants to do, you pay the price of struggling. Most people, and you have the Drew Barrymores and the people that are sort of born into it, and she has struggled in her own way. But you have those people that, they get lucky. They get the Chris D'Elia is a very funny comic, but his father is a huge producer. You get. That helps. You can't say it doesn't help. It helps when you're Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. It helps. You probably wouldn't have got that point. Granted, he was a good fighter, a great fighter, but he wouldn't have gotten those breaks had he not been. It helps. So what I'm trying to say is, when you have that kind of dream job that people would pay to do, you're going to struggle, and sometimes you struggle to the extent of fuck. You're the champion and you're doing construction. Like I talked to Timothy Johnson, who's like the 12th ranked heavyweight in the UFC, and he drives Uber, and he works at a strip club as a bouncer. He's got 2 jobs, and he's ranked number 11 in the world in the most popular division, quote unquote,
as the heavyweight. When you're usually the heavyweight, you're the I mean, Stipe Miocic is the heavyweight champion of the UFC, and he is still a firefighter. You cannot tell me there's any other sport other than like darts or I don't know another sport. If you're the best golfer in the world, you don't have time to be a paramedic / firefighter, Uber driver. If you're in the NBA and you're Adam, whatever the fuck that kid played for Xavier, Adam, forgot his last name, but he was on the Lakers and he never played. But he still got $20 million.
The funny thing is as soon as they have to give up their job so they can train full time, they'll probably start losing.
That's what he said.
That's
right. That's what he said. He said he lost when he gave up his job.
Yeah, because Stipe, as soon as he gives up his firefighting job, he's probably going. But he's got a big fight coming up.
Who's Stipe fighting?
Kane.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, when's that coming?
I just read about it. It's going to come again. But I think that's the logical move for the heavyweight.
Oh
division,
yeah.
Because who else is it going to be?
Stipe is one of those guys where he's almost a perfect fighter.
Yeah.
Where he's I wouldn't say he's the best at everything, but he's incredible at everything. And that is why he's so hard to beat. He was a college wrestler. Mm-hmm. He was I think a Golden Glove boxer. Mm-hmm. He's got good grappling. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the national champion wrestler. He wasn't an Abu Dhabi winner. He's not Verdum.
That's always a kiss of death. When you're a world kickboxing champion or Abu Dhabi champion or something, most of those don't rise up. I'm talking about in the competitive day of 2017, going into 2018 mixed martial arts. That's almost a kiss of death to where you got too much ego to where you can't unlearn that stuff to go back into the gym and learn to piece all the things
together. Like Maya.
Yeah,
but Damian Maya
that's one guy that's an exception.
And he also got knocked out by Marquardt and got humbled and fought his way back.
But he's got a strong mind to come back. Now he's in the fight with Woodley, and that's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, that's on that card also.
Yeah, that card is going to be sick.
I think Woodley, for some reason, knocks him out in the second round.
As soon as Woodley touches you, if he catches you anywhere around the noggin, man, you're done.
But Woodley seems to the guys that he struggles the most are the guys that can hurt him on the feet. Yeah. Wonder Boy, being he was kind of in some ways you gave too much respect to Wonder Boy. Mm-hmm. Not that he doesn't earn that respect, but he was a little gun shy.
The second fight more than the first.
Right,
fight. First fight he beat the hell out of him.
Whereas Maya, I don't think he fears at all on the feet.
No, but that's where he's got to be careful because if he goes headhunting with those punches, the duck under is really right there, and you're a wrestler. You understand when the guy's punching at you, and then if you kick at the guy's going to try and scoop your leg. So damned if you do. And Maya is a good wrestler in his own style. He's not a collegiate style wrestler. He's a jiu-jitsu style wrestler. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I think people used to say that also about Machida. Wrestlers said that Machida could have been a college wrestler based on, and that's the thing about MMA wrestling. Only there's hundreds of moves in wrestling, but thousands of moves even, but only 10 you need to be good at, a double leg, a snap down to a kind of a choke. I mean, a single leg off the cage, not even a low single, an arm drag. I mean, but there's not you're not really throwing Japanese wizards in wrestling. You're throwing a wizard, but you're not throwing I mean, there's a lot of moves that just aren't. You're not starting from up and down. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have you did a stand up, but hitting a switch. Okay, but you're not going to sit out turn in wrestling in MMA usually, or some of these other moves don't really translate.
And plus, the other guy can move around, whereas in wrestling, if the guy just dances away from you and throws you can't throw the jab in wrestling. I mean... But it makes sense for a guy like Maya or Machida would pick it up so fast because you only need 10 moves, if that. I think this is the best Maya, and this is the best Woodley. So that's why this is such a great fight, because it's one of those things where it could go either way.
But also, Woodley's the kind of guy that, when people doubt him, is when he's dangerous. And I think that...
Maya is the same way.
Maya, yeah.
He really is. Because people, know you're going to get crushed by this guy, and then he goes and murders him.
Yeah, right. I mean, look, Maya versus Gunnar Nelson was it was 2016 or something, or 20... But I don't know. Both those guys, I know Woodley didn't like getting booed in his last fight, though. I was there. That had to have...
But he sucked it up, and he still fought with strategy, and people didn't like it, especially the boss. But... contrarily, I think the main event, they're not going to have to worry about them engaging, in the rematch between Cormier and Jones.
Right. So this week, let's talk about this week. I can't wait. Who you having that fight, Cormier or Jones?
It's really hard to go against John Jones, but ... There's a long layoff, and his last fight wasn't that impressive against St. Preux. And he's had all the psychological stuff. He's been lifting, and that's not good. When a guy who's that fast and that cagey starts lifting weights, I don't like that. I think that this is the perfect storm for Daniel Cormier to take. He's got to make sure that weight cut is perfect.
Right.
Where he can't be a little bit gaunt at all. But I think he's got the best shot, but it's really hard for me to go against John Jones, so I'm going to basically be on the fence.
I was at the weigh-ins for the last fight, and based on that, I'm like, sometimes when Ronda first lost to Holly Holm, the weigh-ins, I called my dad. I go, let's put money on Holly Holm. I go, this girl is not right. You could just tell. She was like, "Oh, preacher's daughter, my ass, fuck you," and it was just something was off. And I saw the way that Cormier was in the weigh-ins, and he had so much energy and so mentally going insane that I'm like, okay, he's gonna burn out. He's gonna burn out.
We saw that with McGregor and Mayweather too. McGregor was so amped up. I thought, wait,
The other guy's relaxed, composed. He knows tomorrow's the time to get. And I told Cormier that. And he said, "You're 100% right. That's exactly what happened the first time. I was in my head. You make the moment bigger than it is. Even though it's such a huge moment. It becomes bigger than just the fight.
Sometimes you want it too much, so you put too much pressure on yourself. You know this. You're a competitor.
It happens in auditions. It happens with comedy when comedy where it's like, I gotta kill. Not, I gotta tell a funny joke. Here's the setup. Pause, here's the punchline, pause, here's the tag, pause, let him hear it, enunciate, make eye contact, all the shit that I should be focused on, I gotta kill. I gotta have the end result. The end result is the most important thing. And when you do that, you're fucked. Because now you're not even putting in the time of, I got a jab, or I got a fucking double leg.
What's that comedian, Stephen Wright?
Stephen Wright, yeah.
Do you think he gets amped? How you doing? I'm down here.
He has some of the fun. He's
fucking.
It's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it. I mean, he just has some of the funniest. He was a guy who was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And then.
But he doesn't get amped up, and there's no pressure with him.
No pressure with him.
Zero.
I mean, I think
that works for him though.
It works for him.
Yeah.
And I think Mitch Hedberg was a great example of somebody who was a derivative from Stephen Wright, but did it his own way.
The other end of the universe is Sam Kinison.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's great.
He's like the opposite.
There's got to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
You don't want to, like you've seen it with Aldo, with McGregor. He wanted it too much. He ran straight in. He got knocked out. But then there are guys that sometimes, like when Sam Alvey fights, or you're just like, man, when are you guys going to start fighting? There's the people that are just too relaxed.
I like the Nick Diaz performance against Anderson Silva in the fight because he saved the smack until in the fight.
Yeah.
And I thought he did some stuff like the beach move and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And now that Anderson wants a rematch, well, I thought, wait a minute, why don't you just maybe go off to pasture a little bit?
Yeah, Silva is a guy that, I understand when you're that good. When you're that good at anything and you're the best in the world, what it takes to be the best in the world, most people will never know. I'll never know. I mean, I want to be the best comic in the world. I'm probably not be the best comic in the world. But when you're the best in the world at something, it just takes such linear focus that when you're no longer the best in the world, it eats you up. And a lot of these guys, they just can't leave on a loss, which is why you see BJ Penn still fighting, and Anderson Silva still fighting, and Roy Jones still fighting, and all these guys. It's like, what more do you have to prove? You've already proven it. You've given us everything you want. Spend time with your wife, your kids, open up a school, train other fighters, give back.
And you can't tell any of those guys no, because they're going to say, oh, you don't know, you've never been there. They should basically step away because they're going to get brain damage.
But you look at, especially the Pride guys. You look at Mark Kerr losing his last 4 fights, or Kevin Randleman losing 7 out of 8. I mean, Baroni, I love Baroni, but you look at his last, it's 1-9 in his last 10. You see these guys, Gary Goodrich, I mean, who has brain damage.
Yeah.
You see these guys, and you're just like, okay, man.
Never quit becomes a curse. It becomes a curse because you have to know when to quit. But none of them ever do. Who? Rocky Marciano? That's about it.
He got killed in a car accident, a plane accident.
Yeah, he was coming back home to train for a comeback.
Yeah, that's the thing. And a lot of these guys, what happens is they go to the gym, and they do really well against some of these younger guys.
It's an addiction. It's a psychological addiction.
And it's also a paycheck.
Yeah, of course, because like when Randy found out, well, are they going to pay Fedor how much? The guy, it's hard to retire because it doubles and triples, and then you got, well, if I come back one fight, and then it's like dodging bullets for a living, or we're going back in one more drug deal, and I won't get caught, I won't get assassinated. Well, it's dangerous.
Yeah, didn't you guys see a Heat? Yeah. Like Al Pacino had that girl. She was beautiful.
Yeah.
But Jens Pulver, another guy. Mm-hmm. And I know Bellator can make money on these guys, and they're Vanderlei Silva, Chael Sonnen. I don't mind it a little bit when they pair the old guys versus the old guys, even though you're still taking punishment. For some reason, it seems like it's less punishment. Mm-hmm. But when you see Yair Rodriguez versus BJ Penn, and you see some of these guys, you just, I don't know. It's not fun. For me, it's not fun. And
Fedor against Mitrione.
Yeah.
I mean, he got clipped. And how many times before he decides, well, maybe not? I mean, who's he going to fight next? Gokhan Saki? I don't think so. Please don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you were the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And you beat Mark Coleman in his prime.
Yeah.
Twice. And a primed, roided up Mark Coleman, you beat.
Well, he beat Nogueira when Nogueira was the number one fighter. People forget that because they see Nogueira lose all these fights, currently.
Other guys.
Nogueira was the king. He was a pride champion. He beat everybody. Sammy Schultz, Mark Coleman, and then when Fedor beat him in his guard, that was a big deal. That was like Ali Frazier 3.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know people go, well, people get mad at me and they go, well, it's a paycheck. But look, Rashad Evans is a friend of mine. I love Rashad, but if he loses to Sam Alvey, maybe it's time, Rashad. You're young enough to have a career, and it's a shame that I'm sorry that the UFC is bringing in Snoop Dogg to commentate when fucking Rashad Evans is right there, or these other, or Jens Pulver. You tell me I would listen to, or Don Fry, or Dan Severn, or you, or a lot of these guys that I would be like, okay. You tell me if Don Fry or any of these guys, if fucking Tank Abbott, fucking roll him out there and have him fucking, I would love to hear Tank Abbott talk fighting. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Tank Abbott's funny, but who knows where he's at now, because I haven't seen David for a long time. But that's a wear and tear lifestyle, that much alcohol consumption.
Oh, yeah, right. But maybe Tank Abbott's not the best guy. But Guy Metzger, there's a lot of guys out there that...
Guy. I'd love to work with Guy. There's a lot of guys I'd like to work with in a booth. You mentioned Eva Edwards. I'm so glad he's getting some play on Fox, and now he's doing some commentary with...
And the nicest guy in the world.
Guy, classy guy, knows every damn thing, and he's a very progressive guy and a creative guy, too. A lot of people know how to call the nuts and bolts and repeat what everybody else knows, but to be creative, that's... gets into the commentating. That's a whole nother discussion.
100%. Now, this week on Fox, Chris Weidman's taking on Kelvin Gastelum. If you would have told me 4 years ago that Chris Weidman was taking on Kelvin Gastelum in a main event, and Kelvin, more people were picking Kelvin, I'd be like, what? You're out of your... Chris Weidman, who just beat Anderson Silva twice, and Vitor Belfort, and all... You're out of your mind. But right now... It's hard to pick against Kelvin.
Yeah.
Chris has lost his last 3 fights. He didn't look good against Mousasi his last fight. He looked okay but he took him down 90 times and couldn't finish him. And I think Chris is a black belt in jiu-jitsu and an amazing wrestler, a 4-time All-American. Kelvin is a gamer. Everybody says they train with Kelvin. He looks terrible in practice, but he goes out there and he puts it on. Now, the thing is, Mike Dolce said that Kelvin could be 155. He's fighting now at 185. Is this a situation where, I know Kelvin beat Tim Kennedy. I know he beat Vitor Belfort, who's a shell of the Vitor Belfort we've seen. But is this a situation where it's a good big guy versus a good smaller guy?
I think Kelvin should stick at 185 because he tried the weight cuts before and forget 155. He couldn't make 170. He's a really tough guy. I think he's a magical fighter. I think he kind of reminds me of BJ Penn in his prime because he gets things done in a very original way. He's not the thing where textbook this happens and he does this textbook move like everybody plans for it. He's the kind of guy when the switch goes on and he gets in the ring. A lot of people say, as you said before, in the gym he's not that impressive. But that's a good thing because there's nothing worse, Adam, as you know, than a gym fighter who gets inside the ring or cage and falls flat.
Yes.
Kelvin's the opposite of that.
Mike Pyle comes to mind, and nothing against Mike Pyle. He said it himself. He had obviously some amazing wins in the octagon, but people say in the gym, Mike Pyle beats everybody.
Yeah.
So do you picking Kelvin in this fight?
Yes, I do.
Over Chris Weidman?
Yes, over
Wow.
Chris Weidman.
That's both are friends of mine. Kelvin's been on the show. Kelvin's also a guy that
I never met Chris, but he's a classy guy, a wonderful guy, and I picked him to beat Anderson the first time. And
so did I. I told Dana White after watching Chris beat Tom, the guy that always had the funny entrances, Tom Lawler. And when he beat Tom Lawler in one round, I said, because I'm from Long Island, and you heard the buzz about Chris Weidman. I said, Dana, there's this guy that you have on your roster, and Chris and Dana couldn't remember his name, and he goes, it was like no, Chris
Weidman
or Weidman, yeah. He goes, this guy is going to be the champion. I told Dana that. Dana's like, okay, well, he's a tough kid, and then I was right about him. Well, I think he's the only guy I've been right about.
Yeah.
But
I don't like to predict fights, but I will. I'm like sodium pentothal, and people ask me a question, I'm going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Of how I feel about it.
Nunez, I've been right about her. Nunez, when she beat Jermaine Durandame, and she was right, it was even before the Sarah McMahon. I'm like, this girl could be the champion. Amanda Nunez, I called it, and then I still think Bellator, the kid's going to be the champion. The national Darion Caldwell is going to be the champion. He was the national champion.
What about Michael Benham Page? I think he hasn't faced a wrestler yet.
Not faced a wrestler yet.
Yeah. I mean,
and
I understand what they're doing, but
but it's
eventually you can't stack the deck.
But he's pulling out of fights a lot. It's something a little weird.
Injuries or
I don't know what
the Paul Daly thing was supposed to happen. And that would have been Paul will test your chin. That's not going to be. See that fight. Man, Paul Daly, he's still got to work on his wrestling, man. McDonald took him to school. It's an MMA fight. It's not a chin versus chin fight.
I know. Paul Daly's one of those dudes who is always be exciting to watch, but you're right. You got to – I don't know why Paul Daly does not go to a wrestling gym and just say, you know what, beat me up every day.
It's hard to do that slapdash, quick fix type training. You've got to basically have that in your program all the way, or you don't. Jackson Winklejohn, a.k.a. Matt Hume, these people have everything. They got everything, and they bring in people the same. It's not like they know all the answers. Matt Hume actually does, but a lot of those people bring in wrestling specialists all the time, the Kenny Johnsons or whoever it is, to really tune you up on a constant basis. But they don't bring it in last minute for 3 weeks.
But I don't think those specialists are the answer. I think training with college wrestlers or training with guys like the Colby Covingtons and the wrestlers.
But look at the champions about how they train and who they train with. The champions. I'm not talking about the other cattle. I mean, the champions, like John Jones, for instance, the greatest fighter, right? I think he's the greatest fighter in MMA. I mean, he's got the same program, the same hierarchy that they bring in. And they bring in certain guys, but they have the same brain trust that handles him the whole time. He's not jumping over here and by himself training with some wrestlers. You're right.
That
doesn't work.
You're right.
That doesn't work.
But the only thing Paul Daly would benefit from...
He needs it, but he needs it on a consistent basis,
right?
Not the quick fix training.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to work.
I know a guy that got... called up to the UFC, and his coach called me, and he's like, hey, he's got a fight in a week against a wrestler. Can you give me Bubba Jenkins' number? And I'm like, a week?
See, that quick fix stuff doesn't work.
It's
Otherwise,
never gonna work.
Camacho would have beaten Chavez. Phil Baroni would have been the greatest of all time. I mean, when these guys jump from place to place all over the place, they shortchange themselves. There's a lack of confidence in that.
Right. Patrick Cummings versus Gian Vellante. I feel like this is the exact same fighter. These guys, they're both good wrestlers, both tough guys. Patrick Cummings, I remember him when he was in jail for stealing stuff with Eric Bradley at Penn State. Going back to these guys went to this Patrick Cummings guy was I think, second in the country in nationals, and Bradley was third. And they went back to Penn State. They raided a bunch of dorm rooms, got arrested, spent a year in jail. Not the kind of jail he said that was like, wasn't Rikers, but it was like weekend jail, whatever. Totally derailed his career.
Surprised Bellator didn't pick him up.
Yeah, I know. But then he came back because he called out Cormier on short notice, and then got into the UFC. Cormier then knocked him out, but Cummings had a good career then. But Vellante is a guy who he's in every fight until he gets knocked out. Tough guy. I think Cummings is going to win this fight, but it's a sort of the exact same fighter.
That's a hard fight to pick, but you have to go with Cummings because he overcame that loss to Cormier, and he's done well since he's been in the big show. So he's not going to fold under pressure. But I think the winner of that fight is definitely going to be in the spiral known as rankings, and who knows what will happen with them as far as career. But yeah.
And Thomas Almeida, who everybody was on the Almeida hype train until Colby Covington knocked him out, taking on Jimmy Rivera, who's a guy who just beat Uriah Faber. He's a guy that had no respect, but he was the favorite against Uriah Faber, and Faber was like third at the time or fourth. Uriah retired after that fight. No, he had one more fight against Brad Pickett and fight after that. Rivera's a grinder, and I think he beats Almeida. I think a lot of times with these I wouldn't say any fighters, but a lot of Brazilian fighters, they have this ego about them.
Machismo.
And then you beat them once, and they never...
They fold?
Yeah.
It's tough to get over that because they pump themselves up so much with the machismo thing, and,
There's a lot of fight, not just Brazilians.
They do fall, a long distance down because it's hard for them to come back. Like we mentioned Cummings earlier. Cummings came back after a big loss and then won. It takes a really strong guy to do that,
I think Cummings is coming up, but Cummings, it's funny though, because these guys both have knockout power. I remember Cummings when he was living at Mayhem's house, and he was like telling me how crazy Mayhem was.
Gee, really?
Yeah, and I'm like, but like,
who knew?
So he beat John Blachowicz. He lost to Little Nog, got knocked out in one round. I did not think he was going to lose to Little Nog, and got knocked out by Glover before that, and he lost to OSP. But he beat Cavalcante.
All three of those guys are very tough guys, though.
Yeah.
They're like top 10 guys, So losing to them isn't a complete basket case situation.
But then the other guy, Gian, who was a college football player at Hofstra, and he's another guy tough. But he got knocked out his last fight, I believe, to Shogun, a fight he was winning, or he was doing okay. But he lost to Ilir Latifi. He lost to Tom Lawler, got knocked out of a fight he was winning, beat Anthony Parash, that guy, he's an old school dude, lost to Fabio, lost to OSP, beat Derek Meeman, lost to Lorenz Larkin. So this should be a good fight, this fight.
OSP is one of those interesting guys because I think that in his mind he's got a wall up. He can't go past a certain point because he looks so good, because physically he's got all the tools. But there's something that happens where he hits a wall in his brain.
He's also the best guy at his gym. That's also a problem.
Yeah.
He's the best guy at his gym. And it's like when you're the best guy at the gym, it's tough.
Gym fighter.
So this guy, this should be a good fight. Alex Oliveira, who just beat Tim Means, and he beat Will Brooks, a guy that he lost to Donald Cerrone. But that Will Brooks.
That's a big win.
Yeah, but he didn't make weight. I think he like.
Yeah, I know. And that kind of qualifies it a little bit.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think if your opponent doesn't make weight by over 2 pounds, you shouldn't have to fight him, and you should get paid.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
There's a lot of things that aren't the case, like what they talk about, the Amanda Nunez situation where she didn't feel good or didn't feel good. And I see both of the situations, but Chael Sonnen said there should be a forfeit rule. I mean, in other sports, if somebody gets sick, then you've got a team though, or you have to pull out of the tournament, and I don't know what the penalty should be in a situation like that if you don't miss weight, but it should be something.
Well, it just seems like a lot of these guys, the guy misses weight by 3, 4, 5 pounds.
Yeah, that's your job.
And then they fight him, and then they lose.
Yeah.
And me and you are guys that, he didn't make weight for that fight against Will Brooks, but other people are not gonna.
They just see the L, and that's all they know.
And your negotiating power's got to go down when you lose.
Exactly.
So it's bullshit. But so Ryan LaFleur is taking on Oliveira. LaFleur is a guy who I think his one loss is to Damian Maia, who, like I said, there's no.
It's like not a loss.
I think that was in Brazil too.
Yeah.
He went to Brazil and he lost to Maia, and he didn't get stopped by Maia. It was a 25-minute fight.
Wow, that's impressive in Brazil.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pick Ryan LaFleur in this fight. He's a Long Island boy, and the fight's in Long Island.
And you're not biased.
Yeah, I'm completely biased, but I also think I think he's a guy that here's a guy who's 13-1 with a loss to Damian Maia, and he's on the prelims on Fox, and no one's talking about Ryan LaFleur.
Is he good on the mic though?
No.
Remember, I said to Tonya,
No.
I said, you said, what's your advice you give to Tonya? I didn't even talk about the fight because we
know.
know what she needs to do. She needs to get the clinch, get the thing on the floor, and get her arms around Chris's neck. But this guy, these guys, they have to think, don't be an impersonation of Conor McGregor, but you got to do something.
Well, I know like a lot of times people say, look, you're from America, you hit the jackpot, it's the land of opportunity, it's the land of this, land of that. If Ryan LaFleur was from Poland, he'd be the fucking star of Poland. Yeah. If he was from, where India, or if he was from Ireland, or he was from one of these countries, he'd be the talk of the town. The whole fucking country would be for him. Because he's from America, and people just don't get it. We don't get excited for people that are 13-1 if they don't.
There's nothing special about him because now everybody's a fighter. There's so many fight shows. Everybody's a damn fighter. So it's like when the Beatles first came to America. There's the only band like that.
Yeah.
And then when all the other bands are like that, nobody cared anymore.
Right. So yeah, do something fun, LaFleur. Jeremy Kennedy, who's talking a ton of shit to Team Alpha Male. He's 10-0. He's fighting Kyle Bochniak. I don't know who Kyle Bochniak is. We're going to look at him right now. Who's 7-1. Nickname is Crash. He lost to Charles Rosa. He's a good fighter. But yeah, so this should be a good fight. Jeremy Kennedy's talking a lot of shit. I know but no one knows who he is. He's got like 1,000 followers, but he's on the right path. This guy, Brian Kelleher, I love him. They brought him in to lose last week. A couple weeks ago. I watched his fight. He beat Yuri Alcantara by submission in one round. Wow. And then afterwards went on the mic and he's like, Dana White, you fucking give me some of my bonus. This is bullshit. I took this fight on the. I like this kid Kelleher. He's good. And Tim Johnson, we were just talking about him. He's fighting Junior Albini and Chris Wade, another Long Island kid, Frankie Perez. The undercard's good. So that's on Fox this week.
Yeah, I want to see Al Quinta fight again, just because of the interviews.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's the best. Boo me, fucking boo you.
Come on, that's one of the greatest moments ever.
I told him he should have T-shirts say "Boo me, fucking boo you," and he would have sold a lot of them, and he didn't sell them.
He's selling homes though.
So was him and the other guy selling homes too. His buddy.
That's the reality of the fight game, though. We're talking about Uber drivers, and we're talking about guys that firefighters and stuff like that. That's the reality of the game. And it's a high risk situation. I'm not saying don't do it, but I've actually told people that don't do it because they came to me, Steven. I want to know how should I get in, and I'll say, what you just told me. I'm going to say don't do it, and they go what? They get angry.
Yeah.
Then go to a gym and prove it.
Well, this mother came up to me after a show this week, and I had a shirt. She wanted to buy a shirt because it said always train like the challenger. That was the shirt. I bought it. It's a cool shirt. It's like it had boxing gloves. She's like, my kids wrestle. One of them wants to become a fighter. I go, well, how's he doing? She's like, well, he hasn't had any amateur fights, but he's training at an MMA gym in Florida. But he might go to and she's like, Rufus? I'm like, Rufus? Yeah, Rufus Sport. And he might go there. But I don't want him to go because I worked at the hotels and I see people with their eyes and this and that. And I don't want him to do it. As a mother, I don't want him to get into that. And I told her, I said, listen, here's the problem. Here's your dilemma. There's no like dipping your toe into this sport. If he gives it 50%, he's going to get killed. He's got to go all or nothing. And he's got to go to Rufus Sport or one of those gyms to actually see how good he is. By you telling him not to do it, it's not one of those things. I mean,
a lot of fighters have parents that don't want them to do it, and sometimes they overcome it, they hide it, or wherever, they still do it.
Yeah.
If they're driven to do it, they're going to do it no matter what anybody says. A lot of times they have dissent, and that actually hurts them because it's very rare that go ahead and spar down there and get some get your bell rung a couple times. That's not good for you.
I met a girl. It's the opposite. I met this girl. And she was like really bullied a lot. Her whole thing was like she was bullied and bullied and bullied. She was like chubby young girl, and then her father, she liked Ronda Rousey. She met Ronda, and Ronda met this whole thing with her. Then she hit me up and said, "Hey, I want to come on your podcast, tell my story. I'm really good at roasting people." And first of all, I don't really roast people on the podcast. I do it on Twitter, but it's a different way. And second of all, like, as someone who gets bullied all the time, you shouldn't be worried about roasting other people. Like,
Yeah, because you're bullying them.
You're bullying them, and you don't like being bullied. And so then I saw her I ran into her in Kansas City, the same girl and her dad. And I go, "How's it going?" She's like, "Horrible. I just got the crap beaten out of me in school. Some girl, she saw me and she beat the crap out of me, and it was terrible." And I saw her dad, and her dad was like, "Yeah, well, what happens is, she didn't see it coming. My girl fights in the gym. This was a street fighter. That's why she lost." I'm like, there's like 100 things wrong with this. Number one, like, you shouldn't be fighting anybody.
Yeah.
Number two, like, you shouldn't be making excuses to why she lost, saying that you do MMA fighting versus street fighting. It's almost like it was fucking bizarre. But I thought about it for a second.
I picture an unhappy ending to that person.
Yeah, because like, it seems like the father wants the kid to get into fighting or something, and the kid obviously just...
I've seen that happen, and it's almost a form of child abuse, to be honest.
Yeah. I coaching wrestling, there's sometimes like, look, I think every kid in the world can benefit from wrestling, boy and girl. I've never met anyone who has ever come to me and said, "I wrestled and it was the worst thing I've ever done." It was always like, I wrestled for a year, I loved it, it taught me about character. There's nothing wrong that you can get out of it. But I have had situations where the kid does not want to do it, and the father is like putting him into it, and the kid's just depressed. And if a kid doesn't want to be there, you can't force him to be there. And I've told parents, I'm like, "Listen, are you sure your son wants to do this?"
I had a kid, his father is a friend of mine, and he said, "I want you to teach my son to play drums." So I said, "Okay." I went over there, and they had a drum set and everything. So we got on the drums, and the kid was totally not into it. And I said, "Do you like playing drums?" He goes, "No." I said, "Why are you doing it?" "Because my dad wants me to." So I said, "Okay, let's go back inside." I told his dad, I said, "Look, the kid's not into it.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep your money."
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's so many other things the kid can do.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I've had kids. I had a kid this year that, like, he didn't want to do it every day. He's like, "I want to quit." And the kid was way overweight, and he went from crying every day in practice and crying in matches to taking second place in the tournament, and had a big smile on his face and turned the kid's life around. Like, that's what I'm talking. That's great. I'm talking about the kid that's like, you just does not want to. I mean, running out of the room.
Imagine you grow up and your last name is Gracie.
Yeah.
And you're 3 years old. What are you going to be? Here's a Gee.
Yeah, right.
You got no choice.
Right.
Think about it.
There's that. There was a kid I was unrelated, but there was a kid one time. Me and Connor Hune were coaching, and they told us, "Hey, one of the kids in the team has autism." So there was one kid that stood out from everybody. Always doing his own thing, running around, never listen, loud, real loud. And we were kind of going out of our way to like tiptoe around the kid and, deal with him. End of the season, we find out he doesn't even have autism. It was another kid that didn't know right from left. Like, that kid was just being a jerk the entire time.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like,
oh my God.
I'm like, I wish you would have told us which kid had autism. We were trying to figure it out. It seemed like the one, that was like, the kid who had autism was the most normal, polite kid, just didn't know right from left. Like he never would have.
That's dark.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But the other kid was just a lunatic. Anyway, that is our podcast. This Friday night, I will be in Tucson. I'll be in Tucson this week. This Friday night, 2 shows. One at 7, one at 9 o'clock. I'm at the Dime Bar every Monday and Tuesday. And then I'm going to be in Seattle. I'm trying to bring up my schedule right now. It's always great when the computer doesn't work. Here we go. It's finally working. I'm going to be in Seattle, Washington at the Angel of the Winds Casino. I'm going to China, if anybody's in China, but I doubt you guys are. But if you are, I'm going to Shanghai.
Nice.
Shanghai. I'm going to, have you been to China?
Yeah. I've been to Beijing, and I've never been to Hong Kong, though.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to Beijing as well.
Beijing is a lot of smog.
Wednesday, I'm in Cliffhanger Sports Bar and Restaurant in Linwood, Washington. Thursday, Angel of the Winds Casino. Friday at Marina. No, I'm at the Warehouse in Washington. I'll find out where that is. I'm at Club Crow in Casimir, Washington, September 9th. Iowa in Dubuque, Wednesday, September 13th, and then September 15th to the 16th at Penguins Comedy Club in Cedar Rapids. What do you got coming up?
My band Snow, which is pure uncut rock, which features myself on drums, Doug Ellison on vocals, Tony Cavazzo on bass, and Carlos Cavazzo, formerly with Quiet Riot and Rat on guitar, has our double album coming out next Friday, July 21st. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/pureuncutrock. The name of the band is Snow, and I've got 2 movies coming out. One's called Unlawful Justice, where I play a police detective, and it's a nice chunky little role. And then I play a boxing referee in a movie called Glass Jaw, kind of a catchy title, right? And then I have
anybody in those movies that I've heard of? Who's in these movies?
They're independent movies, so they don't have Justin Bieber or anybody.
Don't Justin. Oh, damn! I'm not seeing it. Justin Bieber's in it.
Although I hear
you're in it. That's all that matters.
I hear that Justin Bieber's doing the remake of The Godfather. So
you're kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go on.
He's doing a Clockwork Orange, actually.
Yeah, perfect. Amazing. Good. Okay. And
then that's it. Just keep on rocking and rolling. You can find me. My name is Stephen Quadros, StephenQuadros, and you can Google me and come after me or whatever you want to do.
Nice. Thank you. Now, thanks for being on the podcast. Now, if I want to see these movies, how do I see them?
They're not released yet, so they're going to be coming out. You should go find me on Facebook, and I'll keep you posted.
Cool. Well, it was an honor to have you. Tonya Evinger, thanks for coming on the podcast. Can't wait to all these girls hear about who she wants to bang and who she doesn't want to bang. That was my favorite part of the show.
Gives a whole different meaning for one guy. I just want to bang.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
I got it.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.